Hello, everybody out there. I am beyond excited to welcome S.E. Wendel to my channel today. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so epic. And so I'm just going to introduce myself real quickly. I'm B of Mama Needs to Read Romance. I am a dyed-in-the-wool historical romance fan and contemporary romance fan who discovered the gorgeousness that is S.E. Wendel's writing, and she totally converted me into a fantasy romance fan. And I just can't believe I'm totally like geeking out right now on all the things that I love about you. I wrote down some words that come to mind when I think of your writing that I'm going to read, and then I'm going to stop talking and I'll be like, this is about me. But I love it's atmospheric, it's cozy, it's spicy, it's slow burn. You've got cinnamon roll heroes who are protective, sometimes broody, honorable, fierce heroes, and fierce heroines. Need only apply. We don't have any damsels in distress going on here, which I love. There's no games between our protagonists, which I love. There's no pettiness or like immaturity. Everybody is just, they've got hearts of gold, even if you have to dig a bit. But I just love, love, love. So I'm welcoming you. Thank you so much. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I'm S.E. Wendel. Hello, hello. I'm an author of mostly fantasy romance, though now dipping the toe in PNR. I like writing characters kissing. And I like I do. I'm just, I love some good angst and drama, but honestly, from the get-go, I'm just like, just kiss. Just kiss. Okay. How do we get here? How do we get there? Let's get there faster. Which is ironic because like everyone says I write very long books. So like I feel it too, everybody. I agree. We could be getting there faster. But
oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I couldn't be more excited. And oh my gosh. So I think the place I want to start first, I know this is maybe kind of a strange question to start with, but there's probably people tuning in right now that aren't familiar with your work. So I just want to ask this question for someone who doesn't know you yet, hasn't met the gloriousness that is your writing. Is there a particular book that you recommend starting with? Or that's what do you think?
I think probably Halfling. I know it's the most popular title, but it's also like I would say probably the most accessible. It's I do feel like I write monster romance, but I don't identify as a monster romance author necessarily because like I write monster light.
Yeah.
They're pretty humanoid. There's not really any interesting appendages going on, if you will. So I would say probably Halfling just because Halfling is just a cotton candy, warm cup of soup, just out of the oven chocolate chip cookie kind of book.
Yes.
It was my treat after finishing the Broken Wings duet because those books are much heavier. So I think if you're wanting a good introduction to my writing, the length of my books, and like how I like to go about building worlds, I think Halfling is a good place to start. If you're like, oh my goodness, this is still too long, I do have a novella. Stonehearts is much smaller.
Yes.
But
yes, would you consider Stonehearts to be a novella or just a smaller novel?
I would say novella, especially since like it is split into the two halves. And so you could just read the first half, which is itself a contained story, like it has a beginning, middle, and end. And then the second half, right, is the characters through time. In my head, they're called epilogues because it's just basically, I just love slice of life. Once I fall in love with characters, I don't necessarily need to go on like this big long quest with them. I'd rather like, I'm happy to go to the grocery store with them. So it's really just slice of life through time.
I love it.
But yeah, I would say it's a novella.
Awesome. Well, we've got some people that are coming to say hey, and I just wanted to acknowledge them really quickly. Hi, Tara. Oh my gosh, I love. And we've got my good friend Julie here. Hello, Julie. I see your grace with So we did a live yesterday
Oh,
also,
fun.
and we have R.A. Morley here, who is, she said that she came first. I wanted to acknowledge that. And we were referring to her as Your Grace. It was kind of an inside joke from yesterday. We also have one of my good pals, Amina, who I actually talked to you a little bit about some of the questions that she asked. She and I talk about your writing so much. She is on her way back to Paris right now on the subway, which she
My
wanted to
goodness.
show up. I'm so impressed that you were able to show up on the subway. She just wants to say how much she enjoys your books, and she doesn't think your books are long. And we need all the
That
words.
makes one of us.
But I
They're
agree
long.
with Amina, we do need all the
They're
words.
long.
But they're beautifully long. They're beautifully
Thank you.
Yeah.
They are, in the words of sort of in the words of Gandalf, a book is as long as it needs to be, not too long. That is a very bad, paraphrase, but
Ooh, I
a
love
wizard
it.
is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to. So my
I
books,
love it. Oh
my
my
books
gosh.
are precisely as long as they want to be.
I love that reference. Oh my gosh, how fun. That's so fun. Oh goodness. Hey, 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 we love long books here. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I
We
love
like a
it.
girthy book. Yep. We love
Yep.
some girth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, we do.
We
Yes,
love
we
some
do.
girth.
And we've also got April here. I have to thank, I'm so glad you're here, April, because I need to thank you. April's the one, she was promoting your book on her Instagram page. I saw
Oh,
the cover. If it hadn't been for April and the gorgeous cover she had of Halfling on her Instagram, I don't know if I would have found you. So April, I'm so thankful. Yes, there it is. I've got mine too. I've got mine too. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I love it so much.
just so much green goodness. Yes.
Oh
And,
my
of course,
goodness, yes, I
shouting out my
so
cover
love it.
artist, Beth Gilbert. I mean,
Oh,
I would be nothing without Beth. Nothing.
oh, I can't wait to talk more about art too. Oh my gosh, the way that you incorporate art. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Okay, so let's see. And anyone, by the way, that if you're watching from home or the subway, wherever you happen to be, feel free to throw out a question. Oh yeah, the covers are gorgeous. We do. We love them all. We love them all. And the books that are coming up. I mean, oh, when you do those cover reveals,
Those
mm,
are, let me tell you, an email from Beth can absolutely turn any frown upside down. Oh my goodness. I have been
oh,
having horrid days, and then I get an email from Beth like, "Hi, here's a draft. It's terrible, but like, what do you think?" And I'm like,
and you're like, it is not.
it's gorgeous. What are you
Yes.
talking? Like, it's
Yeah.
just Beth just, knocks it out of the park. I'm just
Yes. Okay.
always in awe of her.
I'm so sorry. It wouldn't be a show with me without me doing that. Okay,
There we go.
so I thought I actually made some slides of some of your covers, and since
Ooh.
we're talking about this right now, I thought we might as well glance. But so this is by, you said Beth, remind me of her name, you just said it.
Beth Gilbert.
Beth Gilbert. And so has she done basically all of your covers?
Yes. Well,
Oh,
the A Time of War and Demons and the original Airy cover. Yeah,
mm.
so that one and the original Airy cover were done by a very dear friend of mine who was a graphic designer, and she was so sweet to do them for me pro bono, and like I'm so grateful to her.
Yes.
Shout out to Madeline. But yeah, so I decided to do a bit of a rebrand once I knew Haven was coming out. Um, and I
Mhm.
decided that it would be kind of a lot to ask for a third pro bono cover. Um, so, and I kind of decided that I didn't want to do Photoshop covers anymore. I wanted to do more illustrated, just like kind of in that vein. Like I love original, like classic fantasy and romance illustrated covers. I love Clinch covers and classic
Yes.
mass market paperback. I love the vibe. And I went through all the artists I followed, and I saw that Beth had an opening, and I knew that like I put a couple feelers out there for like price, um, what I thought they like to do. And because Beth is so detail oriented, and loves like a fantasy landscape, like I just like her, the usually the back covers, which are the landscapes, are often my phone backgrounds because they're just so pretty. I knew that she would be perfect, and she was taking new clients at the time, so I jumped on that. Thank
Yes.
God.
I love it. I love it. And in fact, do you wanna just jump into if I pop onto your and April's got something to say too about that. She's perfect for the vibe of your books. I think it was a great partnership.
Thank
Well
you. Yes.
said.
I love Beth.
Mhm,
Beth,
mhm.
absolutely love her.
Yes, and is there okay, while we're at it, is there a cover that is, like, your favorite cover, or is it like your like children, you can't pick your favorite?
I
I mean,
think
these
right
covers.
now, it's so hard. Like, I love different parts of it. Like, I love all of them. I love different things
Yes,
about them. I think my absolute favorite right now is the Iron Lane cover. It's everything I love. It's
I
like
know.
she's got like the Barbie Rapunzel vibes, which I love.
Yes.
Colors, like I'm a pink gal. I love it. And like he's just like so Clark Kent coded.
Mm,
And
mm,
and it's just like the dark purple, dark mauve colors of this cover just really speak to me. A very close second is Stone Hearts. I absolutely love that cover, especially since I
mhm.
think for Beth it was a bit out of her comfort zone. Was she
Oh,
doing a like monster female? I don't know that she'd done a ton of like more non-human characters or like she has a lot of like, SJM characters and stuff like that, but not necessarily like monstrous sort of creatures. And she just with very little, I mean, she usually gets a very, very long email from me, but like other than that, like long email, she did it all on her own and she knocked it out of the park.
oh, it's
So
gorgeous,
it's
just
so pretty. Like
gorgeous.
that diaphanous dress is just
Mm,
chef's
yeah.
kiss. Like so
Yes. Yeah, I just love it, and I have to say, for me right now too, I have been fangirling over this cover so much.
it's
This
so
book now this one comes out in August, right?
that's the plan.
That's the plan, okay. I realize August is still sort of kind of far away. But I one of the things that I find that I love most about this cover is the way they're gazing into each other's eyes.
Yes.
Mm, mm. And it's funny, there are covers I'm not gonna pull them out right now because that's gonna take us off track, but there are historical romance covers that I love, but it looks like they're not even looking at each other, like they just happen to be at some point, I'll post it because there's a couple that drive me crazy that, are actually quite popular, and I'm looking at them, and it's like, she's looking at him, but he's looking I don't know where he's looking at, but I feel like this captures it so perfectly, so beautifully, and yeah, I'm just so excited to have that on my shelves, hopefully in
I'm
August.
excited too, and the colors are gonna be gorgeous. And
Yes.
like I
Yes.
definitely sent especially for the pose, it's based on a classic romance Clinch cover. Um,
Yeah.
I believe from one of the original Julia Quinn Bridgerton ones, actually. I think it might be from the first one.
Let's
Um,
let's actually is it okay if we hop over to your Instagram and look
let's
at
do
some of
it.
your Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. Now again, because this is my live show, I have to have at least a couple technical difficulties along the way.
Right.
So
No, it
so
wouldn't be
bear
that without it.
bear with me here. Okay. So I was actually on your classical art. Do you want to do the classical or the Clinch cover appreciation first?
The Clinch cover appreciation
Let's do it.
does have the cover that it's based on.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, so I am going to share screen. Yes, yes, yes. See, and then I have to talk to myself, and then I look.
It's okay. We all got to pep ourselves up.
Other Okay, now
Ah,
okay, it's working! Okay,
there
hooray,
we go.
hooray. Now, the thing is, I have to toggle back and forth. I can't see both screens at the same time. So, okay, so this is Clinch Cover Appreciation, and are we there right now? This is the one,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. If you toggle like two or three, it should be, yeah. So there's Ironling and there's the one it's based off.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's Ironling.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I just love it so much. And here we are.
Yeah. I believe it's for Julia Quinn.
Yeah, it says "For the Duke and I" by Julia Quinn. I just now how do you come I have to know, like, did you see this one and you just thought, "This is it. This is what I model this after," or is it the author that does that or excuse me, the artist that does that? How did this come about?
Pinterest. Um I definitely, especially in the last couple months, have been thinking about like I really enjoy clinch covers and I do think monster romance in general is kind of creating a nouveau clinch cover, especially like illustrated, and I'm really enjoying all the new covers and like seeing where that's going.
Mhm.
I do think monster romance is in a big way is bringing that back.
Yes.
Um, this one, like, I kind of have a whole little Pinterest board of classic clinches I really like. Especially just like this the illustration of it, not necessarily with the title and everything.
Mhm.
This one I did send to Beth with my inspiration. I always send her like a very long email, like description of the characters, so she gets like their personality. What I and I give like usually sort of a like this is what happens sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that she knows and she kind of has like she doesn't give them a personality that isn't really what they are. And
Mm.
she's always nailed it. Um,
Mhm.
and so this is one of the inspiration photos I sent along with Ironling. Because I liked the garden vibe, the outside, and like the sort of clandestine sort of nature, like they're sneaking around, you can sort of tell that from the Clinch cover.
Oh,
Like
I love it.
they're sneaking around, and the same thing is with Ironling. It is a forbidden romance. They are sneaking around, so the vibe is very similar. So I
Could I
definitely
be
like vibes.
I'm just beyond excited. When is it August? Is it here yet? I
No,
need
which is
August
good
to
because I
come.
haven't really started it yet.
Oh my gosh. I'm just oh my gosh, so excited. And forgive, I don't think that you just mentioned this as I'm toggling back and forth. I am listening to you what you're saying. So you have you read this, or is it basically just the vibe of the picture, the art? I mean, I know you're saying that that's the main drive, but I didn't know, like, for example, do you read Julia Quinn, or is it primarily just the art and what's coming to you from the art that helps you choose
I
this?
have read this one.
Okay.
It's not my favorite of the Bridgerton novels.
Okay.
I actually didn't really realize that it was. I had to go looking because, like, a lot of
Sure.
times the art of the Clinch cover is coming back would not necessarily attach to the titles. Like, oh gosh, I'm
Right.
blanking on the guy's name, the main guy who did a bunch of these in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
They're tagged in that post.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh their art is coming back in a big way, I think. Like there's people who are like collectors of these Clinch cover romances.
Mhm.
And like my mom had a lot of them. I
Yes.
think a lot of our moms, right? Like back in the
Yes.
80s and 90s and early 2000s had books like these, and they were
Yes.
sort of like what is this? Like it was very fascinating, especially as someone who like trended towards romance. Like even as a young reader, I preferred something that had love plot. Um
Mhm.
and like I think romance is dumped on so much, but honestly, like some people need like a mystery to get through the book. Some people need comedy to get through the book, or like a crime that needs to be solved sort of thing. Like I need romance to get through something, and if there's
Yes.
not a love subplot, I'm not into it.
Amen.
um
Yes.
so I definitely saw a lot of these like on my mom's shelf. And they were
Mhm.
just always so beautiful, and it like really celebrates, like obviously the man's like usually half naked and the woman's in some state of undress, and it was
Yeah.
just like they're both so beautifully rendered, and it is sort of it's eroticism from the female gaze. Like the woman's
Mm.
hair is always beautiful, and like the parts of her that are emphasized, like the waist and the hair and the lips, are very much things that like females find it, women
Yes.
tend to look at in each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
And obviously like the abs, the men are stacked too. They have pretty, everyone's got, a beautiful rack. Men like, and it's just beautiful. So it is like this very interesting,
Yeah.
and for a long time, the only thing sort of out there in mainstream media of something from the female gaze, like looking at
Mm.
these two from the female gaze. And so there
Yes.
was something really fascinating to me about that. So I haven't
Absolutely.
necessarily read all the books that have the cover because, again, like the artwork has kind of become detached. And a lot
Mhm.
of these classic romance novels have had like 5, 6, 7 covers at this point. So it's more the art. I kind of
Yeah.
Pinterest
Yeah.
suggests them and I save them. But I think they're really great to help with poses because like they are a very unique pose that it can be really
Mhm.
hard to find something like that
Yes.
on like Adobe stock sort of thing. Um, and then you just have to look at a lot of really awkward stock photos. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
okay.
That's right, that's right. In fact, okay, and speaking of poses, let's look at another one. Oh my gosh! Auric and Sorcha from
Yes.
Halfling,
They
and
were just made for Clinch covers.
yes!
They're such drama llamas, and I love them so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I wanna see which one is okay, so this is Someone to Watch Over Me by Lisa Kleypas. Get out of here. Oh my gosh. Love this so
I
much.
just love the drama of it and like the bicep, and I just knew that he would be. And I think
Mm.
like certain types of clinch, like I really got into it with Halfling because they as a couple just
Mhm.
really work for the clinch
Oh,
cover. It
yes.
really depends on the vibe of the couple. Like Auric and Sorsha are definitely probably like my most romantic couple. Like they're
Yes.
very like lovey-dovey and
Mhm, mhm.
like they fit the vibe sort of thing. So like I
Yes.
we're talking about art, like I think one thing I always try and do is think about the vibe of the couple. So you need to when you want a piece, it's good to have a vision of that piece. And
Mhm.
then think about like the artist you want to work with, like, is that their vibe? So the
Yeah.
best piece is gonna come from an artist that you're playing to their strong suits. Basically, like and artists do like pushing the envelope and getting out of their comfort zone, but like you do want to play to some of their strong suits. So like you want to
Mhm.
match the vibe.
Yes, that is just fascinating. I was so excited to talk to you about this especially. Oh, here we go again. Here's more autumnal Auric and Sorcha.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my gosh. This
Yes.
is
That
fantastic.
and this is like the more 2000s clinch cover version, right? Where it's more like photoshoppy.
Mhm.
Um Also from this one and the next one are also from I believe it's some photographer studio that he,
It's John Paul Studios, I think
yes, there we go, Jean Paul.
Yes,
I knew
yes.
it was a pope.
Well, this is what the Pope also does. No.
Mhm, mhm. It's his side gig, yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay, tell me if I'm going too fast or too
No,
slow.
no, no.
Oh, wait, is there another one after this?
No, so that's a
Yeah.
teaser.
Oh,
That's,
Inspo coming
that is going
soon.
to be hopefully the inspiration for the next one.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait.
So,
Oh,
you're gonna
man.
have to see how Beth feels about horses.
I love it
Because
so
really,
much.
you talk to any artist, and I'll tell you that horses are the hardest things to draw. So
Oh, really?
we'll see how she feels. Yes, they are.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
that's why if you look back at like art from the 19th century, 18th, 17th century, you
Mhm.
can tell when someone is a horse artist because they can do it really well, and then you see other people's horses, and you're just like, why is that a potato on stilts? They cannot draw a horse at all.
That's what my horse looks like.
Yeah, well, it's just I don't know. Hit the hay pretty heavy.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so, all right, can we look now at, some of the classical art that
Of course,
inspired
I love the classical art.
gosh, I'm just so excited to talk about I've been dying to talk to you about this. Okay, so here we are, classical art appreciation. Okay, and so the next one now I know, okay, so got it. All right, so here we have tell us what we're looking at here, because this is coming up this Friday.
Yes, so this is a scene sort of inspired by uh the epilogue of Heart Song, which is my next novel. It's my first real foray into PNR, paranormal romance, and we have our leads, Frey, who is a gargoyle, and Anna, who is just a very normal human woman who did not ask for this. And of course, her adorable cat, Captain, a little black cat.
I love it.
And they are about to go out on a date night. And this is by the fabulous Flavulous art. Um,
Mm,
I love you, Flavia. She did two pieces for me for this series. This is the second one of Anna and Frey. And as you can see, set in San Francisco.
yes, yes. And this is for correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first one set in present day,
Yeah,
really, right? I
yes.
mean, I know with Stone Hearts, we are definitely traveling over time quite a bit,
Yeah.
but this one, I cannot wait to see what you do with present day. Oh,
It was definitely a different writing experience getting to have a narrator who has access to like modern languages and like modern turn of phrase. So that's the thing
Mm.
when you're writing like a high fantasy is some authors do choose like, there's a lot like Kimberly Lemming is amazing. She writes hilarious fantasy. And she definitely like she uses words like yeet and she uses modern phrasing very well.
Yeah.
Mine tend to be a bit more like I try not to be like ye old language, but then you definitely have to think about like, okay, well, if I use this turn of phrase, does it actually fit in the world? So like something like the whole 9 yards.
Mm.
There's a debate as to where that came from, but it could be from like World War I or World War II. Like give the whole 9 yards of bullets. So when you
Oh,
got your finger on the trigger and just on the machine gun, it could mean that, like the whole 9 yards of ammunition.
I
So like
see.
obviously that doesn't work if you're in a medieval world. So you
Mm.
definitely have to think about turn of phrase and diction when you write something set in a more medieval-esque world. So it was a lot of fun not having to think about that when writing Heart Song, at least when I have Anna's point of view.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is fascinating. Yeah, I was reading a historical romance not too long ago that's set in England in the 1800s, and they hop out of the carriage and they say, "You know what? It's like 72 degrees out here. It's great." And I'm like, "I don't think they would have said that." Because first of all, I don't think in England 72 degrees is a big problem if that we're talking about over there with
Yeah, I'm
degrees
not sure
actually.
when they yeah, I don't because
So,
Fahrenheit
yeah.
I don't know
We're
when
not
it was introduced. I would think they would just say this is warm.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember that's the only thing that pops into my mind as you're saying that, like, where I was going, "Huh, that doesn't seem to fit."
Yeah, and you get a lot of it with like unfortunately your Scottish romances where they have like corn and potatoes in the 1600s and they just absolutely would not because that is a new world crop. Um
Oh.
so yeah, so when you think like, oh, tomato sauce in Italy, blah, blah, like no, tomatoes came from if it's before the like 1600s, you ain't getting it.
Yeah,
So
so there was
like
no
and
pizza.
coffee, sugar, those sorts of things are new world products. So like you
Wow.
really have to think about what they could actually eat.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I'm learning so much. This is awesome. This is
I'm a
awesome.
history nerd, so
I
unfortunately,
love it.
I am very prone to falling down Wikipedia rabbit holes.
Oh, that's so awesome, though. That's what we need in a good author. That's what we need. So here we have the Romeo and Juliet by Frank Dixie. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes, Dixie.
Wow. Yes, this is so beautiful. Now, and you chose this piece because just the general vibe, or are you trying to draw parallels between our characters in Heart Song and Romeo and Juliet, or
No, I think the artist had an idea of like, him kind of being half in and half out of the apartment through the balcony. Um,
okay, okay.
and I knew the piece. Like I love a moment when it can recall to a classical art piece. Like I just nerd out about it. So like I sent to Flavia like, hey, look at this. What about this? Especially since like classical art often like artists have always studied classical art sort of thing.
Mm,
They so I think like having a pose reference that is very dynamic and you do get these dynamic poses in classical art, like sending them on, artists tend to in my experience have liked it because it's a dynamic pose, it's fun for them. They like to, learn and copy not copy, but
sure. Be
to
inspired by that particular
be
piece
inspired
and
by, yeah,
yeah,
be in
yeah.
conversation with. So then it's always really fun. I've seen lots of
Mhm.
art copy that
Yeah,
pose. It's just so
yeah.
good.
Oh,
But yeah,
it's so
no,
neat to
we do
see a
not have the
unique
drama of Romeo and Juliet. No,
right?
they are full
For those of us
adults
that
in
have an
this
art,
book.
we're looking forward to
Yes,
reading it, yeah.
no teenage drama.
Yeah. That's right, that's right. I love it. Okay, and then we've got oh, I love
I
this.
love this
Char
piece.
Now, say these characters' names for me because I feel like I'm gonna
Eris
mispronounce.
and Gavriel.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Karis and Gabrielle, that's what I would have said. Okay, yes. Oh, it's just beautiful.
It's so I love the colors. It's just
Mm,
I love
mm,
working with this artist. She's amazing.
yes. Yes, and it looks like oh, love the was the Belle Dame Sans Merci. Oh, I'm speaking French and doing a terrible job.
La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. Yes,
Yes.
the beautiful woman without mercy. Yes. Also by
Ooh.
Frank Dixie. So,
Yes.
and this is another one that the pose gets used all over the place once you see it.
Mhm.
It's a very popular pose
Mhm.
reference.
Yes. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Just
I
gorgeous.
love it. And then of
This
course the classic, you're not allowed to have a winged character and not have them drawn as Lucifer.
mm, mm. I love this. Talk about drama. Just
Oh, I
gorgeous.
know. It's the painting is gorgeous and like Lucifer's like you if you zoom in on like his face, just like he's got one tear coming out of his eye and just the rage that he feels because it's like Lucifer after the fall. And it's just like the pose is so dynamic and you can just see the rage and betrayal in his eyes and it's just such a good like everyone's done this. If you have a winged character, you're not allowed to do it. So
I was just doing this yesterday. No.
yeah,
Everybody's done it. Yeah, no, and how
they really
perfect
have. So I had to jump on it.
but I mean, and it's so perfect for Belle. I mean,
Yes,
it
100%.
couldn't be more perfect for Belle.
Yes.
Oh,
I love it.
I'm sorry. I'm living my best life right now. I'm just this is just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Oh, Belle and Lena.
Classic.
Mm.
Love it.
Mm.
I love that this one is based off of a statue, very famous
Yes.
statue. Yes.
Psyche, is this Psyche revived by Cupid's kiss? Am I on
Yes.
the right part? Okay. I don't know it off the top of my head. Beautiful.
Gorgeous. Yeah. I believe it's in the Louvre.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just like this one was actually very fun. I had won a art giveaway. So the artist Sari did one and I won. I never win anything. So it
Yeah.
was very fun and I just gave her my character references and she just did whatever she wanted and she came up with that cuz she was like she let it fit.
Wow.
And it was just such a happy coincidence. I was like,
I
I love it. It
it's
fits them
so
so
perfect.
well.
And I love it looks like it's really
Mhm.
shimmering, the gold in the background.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just I've looked at this so many times. This is the first time I've noticed his scars
Yep,
that
and if you
she has
notice
covered.
there's a scar on her knee as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No,
This
I
is
was so
amazing.
blown away by all the details. Like,
Mm.
it was
So
so beautiful. It
beautiful.
was such
So
an awesome thing to
beautiful.
win.
Yes. Yes. Okay, and
Oh,
then
and of course,
I'm so excited to talk about this too. Tell us about this one. Oh my
so
gosh.
these are a series of pieces. This one was just the easiest to show the correlation. I love working with June's art. She is a fantastic Art Nouveau artist in Germany, and
Mhm.
um, we did a series of bookmarks of Lena from Airy and Haven through the four seasons that speak to Alphonse Mucha, who is one of the most famous Art Nouveau printers um, of that age. And she loves him. And it was so much fun picking like Art Nouveau poses and flowers and designs. And all the bookmarks are available on my website. You can
I'm
get them.
I'm actually pulling that up while I'm listening to you
I
because
love
I
working. She's so amazing.
okay, I'm going to do you mind if I pop over to your
Please do.
oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, again, this is going to take me a moment. This is okay, let's do we're sharing this. No, stop. Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm so sorry. You would think, and I do practice, but okay, stop screen, and then I think I have to share a different screen. All right, share screen. Here I
We
go.
all think technology is going to make things easier, but really it's just something else to learn.
Yes, and the lovely people who have done lives with me, they're always so patient, and then they teach me things, and I usually remember, but I don't always. I try to remember. Okay, but so let's stop talking about me. We've got the Four Seasons Art Nouveau Lena print. These
Yes.
are bookmarks, correct?
That
No,
is
this
the
is the
print.
print.
This is the print, but yes, you can get them as
Sorry.
bookmarks as well. Oh, no,
Yeah.
you're fine. There's a lot on my shop. Like I have too much on the shop. I went a little nuts.
I love it. I love it. Okay, let me see. Oh, there's the stickers. Definitely we're
You
gonna
gotta
be
love the
talking we
stickers.
need to talk about Captain Indara soon. I mean, I just wanna talk about everything, but oh my gosh. Okay, so these are all the stickers. Love, love, love. Oh, here's the bookmarks. Yes.
Yeah, we also did a very lovely Karis and Gavriel one too. and it's front
I
and back. So that's
adore.
one bookmark, and
Oh,
it's
that's
front and
one
back.
bookmark.
Yeah,
Oh, yay. I love it. I love it.
yeah, she knocked it out of the park.
Now, and these 2 characters, Karis and Gabrielle, they're gonna be in Heartsong, correct? Or you don't
Maybe.
wanna tell me, or you don't have to tell.
No, yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. Which is why I think it's Heartsong can be read on its own, but it's a
Yes.
lot more fun if you've read Stoneheart because
Yes,
you
you know what? That's so funny because I remember I think I talked to you about this because one of my online friends was saying, like, "I really wanna read Heartsong, but do I need to read Stonehearts?" And yeah, I mean, your explanation was terrific. I think it does give more background and you can maybe enjoy Heartsong a little more, but yeah, I'm excited. As you said, I'm glad you said you could just read Heartsong on its own too.
you
So
could, and because I know like Stonehearts isn't like novellas aren't for everyone, and like Heartsong is a very odd novella, I think too. Like what the time skips, it goes forward in time, like very large jumps in time,
right.
which is not for everyone. And
Sure.
also, it's just a massive self-indulgent project on my part. Like I just picked times in history I wish I could go see.
Sure.
Um, so like there's really no reason that they needed to be in Venice during Carnival in the 16th century, but you know what? I want to go to
Yes.
Carnival in Venice in the 16th century.
Yes.
So that's where they went.
Okay, and in fact,
Um
I wanna talk about that print too, because I think we see Carnival. Here it is.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah. That's the second or actually first piece Flaviolus Art did for me, and just so gorgeous. So like I want her boots. I just oh,
yes. Oh, it was so gorgeous. I remember seeing this art before I actually had a chance to read Heartsong. No, not Heartsong, Stone Hearts, sorry. And, I just, knowing this, like, I had this in my mind as I was reading, and I just thought, "Oh, I just love that she did this piece." So gorgeous. The way that she does light.
yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And like very strong colors, which I love.
Yes.
Because that's I think even though Stonehearts is pretty short and it's honestly my lowest rated title, um,
Well, there
I
has
know
to be something, right? I mean, something has to be.
something has to be the lowest rated.
It's not
I
okay.
love commissioning them because they're both such colorful characters, like literally colorful.
Yes.
Um, and it's so fun. I think seeing like a fae and a gargoyle in like period wear. It's just so fun. I love commissioning them and like let's put them now in like 18th century clothes. It's just so fun. Like
Yes.
I need to know when to stop is the problem.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Okay.
Uh-oh. Hello everyone. Are we by ourselves now? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me? Are you
Okay, there you are. Whew. I didn't I didn't want to carry that by
I got
myself.
too excited. I got too excited and I pressed the wrong thing. No. She's like, "We lost her." No, we're on. We're on.
Okay, okay.
So sorry.
No.
This
Okay.
is you're like, "Well, that was fun."
That was okay. Short and sweet.
Sorry. I thought, okay, I got a little too excited. All right, here we are. Okay. Wendell, take over. Okay, I need someone from the chat to tell me, is it back? Are we back? Can everyone see everything? This is so embarrassing. I make myself laugh and I cry. Okay. Yes, this is just great. I left in the middle of an interview. That's just what you want. Anyway, we're back. I can see. Thank you. Thank you, Your Grace. Okay, we're back. Yes, we are officially back. And we didn't lose anyone. We didn't lose anyone. So, because I can see our audience numbers as well. So that's good. Okay, now I'm going to the right screen to to back up. Are there any other pieces while we happen to be here on your prints page, in your shop essentially? What else would you like to talk about? Especially, I mean, there's so many
Oh, okay. Well,
things.
if you go up to the books,
Okay.
up. Okay. So, as you can see, we've got special editions. Uh,
Yes.
I have the airy one right here. Yes. And If you don't want spoilers, look away. But I also have the Haven special edition in my grubby little hands.
Okay.
She is so shiny.
Wait, let me. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop screen because I want to see. Okay. Oh my gosh! It's like a mirror.
I know it's got a lot, but
Beautiful.
it's just they turned out so gorgeous. These ones are green. The airy ones are blue. So here they are together.
Oh.
They're just, again, June's art. The Art Nouveau artist did them, and they are so beautiful. I could not love them more. I've got the Haven ones shipping. I am out of the airy ones, but if there's enough interest, I'm happy to get another batch.
Yeah, I think I emailed you and I was like, I'm interested.
Yes, you are on my list. So if you are interested in an airy one to match the Haven ones, email me. Because I got a list. I need at least 10. Because that's minimum order.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so there's Haven ones available. You can pre-order the Haven ones. And then for Heart Song, I've been doing, oh my God, sorry, my cat just stretched and it was very cute.
Oh, if we want to see your cat too, if you want.
I mean, he is mid-nap. He might come over. I don't know.
I loved when he was your award. That was precious.
Oh yeah. Yes, he was in grabbing distance. His mid-morning siesta shall not be stopped for anything or anyone. But yes, on my shop. So if you can see the second two books over there, the Heart Songs.
Yes.
I've got a pre-order bundle going through Thursday.
Oh.
So that includes 2 prints and your choice of sticker.
Oh, nice.
I'm only going to take pre-orders for these through the 28th, which is next Thursday, the day before Heart Song comes out. You can still get everything on the shop on its own. It will just be a little more expensive. And then of course, if you just wanted the book, I'm taking normal pre-orders too. So.
Okay. Oh, so gorgeous.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited too. I cannot wait to just binge. Oh my gosh, it's going to be incredible.
I hope so. The ARC reviewers have been really enjoying it. It was really fun to write. I kind of worried that it was going to fight me because it was so different, but the book flowed right out of me. I was very pleased.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We have a question. Are these in audio too? Which ones can you find in audio?
Oh, awesome. Okay, so Airy and Haven are in audio. The Broken Wings duet, read by the amazing Taylor Alexa. We did that on our own. Those are up now. And then Halfling is coming to audio next month through Podium.
I cannot wait. Oh.
And you can pre-order the Halfling one too. And it's dual. The Halfling is dual narration, so a man and a woman narrator, and the guy who plays Auric he's something.
Oh, I cannot wait. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
Have your windows rolled up in the car is all I'm saying.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, I have some more questions for you if you like.
Of course.
I have a feeling we're going to continue to pop back in and talk about art and covers because how could you not? But because I mean, I just feel like it's just the way that you use art to kind of enhance the overall experience with the books. It just takes it to a whole other level. And I'm just,
oh, thank you.
It's true. I mean, it's just incredible. Just incredible. And let me ask a question. And I feel guilty asking this because maybe I probably missed this in my research because I try to be fairly well prepared for our time together. Is there like a playlist out there? Sometimes I find them like on Spotify for different authors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Is there anything that you know of, like a recommended playlist for any of your books or?
Yeah, I make them.
I knew you were
gonna say. There's if you go to my link tree, I believe the Heart Song one is up there and the Halfling one. Yes. I'm not good enough at Spotify. I could probably put them on there somehow. Like I need to figure out, or like on my website.
Yeah. I knew. I was
but
like,
yes, I always make a playlist. Yes.
Oh, okay. 100%. Well, now we all know.
Yeah.
just yet another way to immerse yourself in the gorgeous, gorgeous worlds that S.E. Wendel writes. So
I always have a song that I think very much captures the couple. And then there's usually on top of that a song that would be like the end credit song, like if it was a movie. Like this would be the like ballad that would play while the credits roll.
Okay,
And
do
for
you know any of these off the top of your head? I don't wanna put you on the spot, but, like, if we were to okay.
Heart Song, their song for Heart Song is definitely um Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Ooh.
And the end credit song would of course be Lights by Journey because it's about San Francisco.
Oh, I love it!
And for a long time, Lena and Belle from Aryan Haven, their song is Dusk Till Dawn by Zayn and Sia. I love that
Ooh.
one. I would say like, oh, I'll just go look on my phone, but I'm filming
Yeah,
on my phone.
sorry. Oh, no!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's and
Okay.
it's always a struggle not to just fill it with show tunes, but I do contain myself.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited now to check out your playlists. Oh, this is gonna be so fun. Okay, so let's go back to this. And nope, no, we're not doing oh, for Pete's sake. You're gonna be like,
Okay.
no one ever go back on her channel because okay, here we go. Ta-da! There we are. All right, let's talk about some more questions. All right, so tell us a little bit, or as much as you want to, about your journey to becoming a writer. Influences, experiences, inspiration. Yeah, what do you want to tell us? We'd love to know.
I've thankfully like always kind of been writing. I'm an only child, so I think part of it was that like to entertain myself, I would make up stories. And then both my grandmothers really were very supportive. My dad's mom was very creative herself. She would like make little, we'd fold paper a certain way to make little books, and she would illustrate them. And my mom was so sweet. Before I could type, I would dictate to her like my little stories, and she'd type them out. And of course, me being me, I'd be like, okay, and then read that back to me. My poor mother. She's so patient with me. And
I love it.
I know, like, oh, change this. Oh, get rid of that. Okay. So she was probably very grateful when I learned to type. So
So
I've just kind of always been doing it, and it's kind of hard to explain, I guess, because I've just always been that way.
yeah.
I was writing novels since probably 6th grade. I had my 6th grade teacher, a lot of our assignments were these big long writing assignments, and I just really took to it. He
Nice.
introduced me to the concept of editing. Like, Sarah, this is like 20 pages and the assignment is 5. I need you to tone it down. I was having too much fun, and like 20 pages is way too much to read to the class.
Yeah.
We'll be here all day. And I knew I wanted to do English literature in college. I had the fortune of attending UC Davis, which does have a under the radar excellent English and writing program. I know we're known as a vet school, but we
Oh,
actually
really?
yes, UC Davis is, and as they love to tell everyone, they are the #1 veterinary college in the United States.
Oh my goodness, how funny. I
Yes,
love
they
it.
love to remind people about that. They also are pretty well known for engineering, but they also have a very good English literature program. Um,
Wonderful.
so I had the, good fortune of having amazing instructors and professors. I ended up doing a master's degree at UC Davis as well for creative writing. And that was really awesome. So it was just a space where you get 2 years to basically hone your craft. Airy began as my master's thesis,
Get
like
out.
first 8. No, and that's sort of why Airy is. It's not. Airy is very much a literary fiction book in a fantasy world because it kind of came out
Mm,
of a literary fiction program.
interesting.
No one was overly thrilled with me for doing a fantasy thesis. It's very hardcore genre fiction, but I did it anyway because I was not interested in writing a somber, sad literary fiction piece.
Mm.
Though I do think like reading outside your comfort genre is very important. Literary fiction is very much about the little things and the human condition, like everyday things that can be absolutely devastating. So when people say about Airy, like, oh, nothing happened in Airy, I'm like, yeah, you're right.
What?
No, I agree. Nothing does happen. There's a firewood chopping chapter.
What?
But the thing about that chapter is that she's having an absolute internal crisis. And so that very
Mhm.
much comes out of literary fiction that like you don't have to have this like big massive betrayal for something to be absolutely devastating. In literary fiction it could be like the partner forgot to take out the trash and like you can see the marriage crumbling because of that sort of thing.
Mm.
So coming out of that school of thought, like I definitely think my stories is much quieter. I'm not as interested in, like, I do love a big major battle
Sure.
and a big major plot, but I'm not very in, and like I've watched Game of Thrones. I find it very fun, except I usually pretty accurately predict what's going to happen and it very much annoys my housemate. Because I know how plot works. Like, of course the red wedding happened. Like, of course it happened. It was either that or he was going to win, and he obviously wasn't going to win. Of course they killed him off.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Big yawn. Sorry, my cat yawned. I'm contractually obligated to state big yawn when he does so.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Oh
You can't
my
throw
God.
off the vibe of the house. So my stories do tend to be like I'm much more interested in like the human condition and these small things of how you build relationships, how you break relationships, and
Yeah.
um I just find that much more interesting. Oh, he's
I
on the move.
I have to say, one of the things I first fell in love with while reading Halfling, and then I think an area as well, I had been reading so much where, this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. And one of the things I really appreciate about you as an author is you give your characters time to breathe. I think that's
Yeah.
part of the atmospheric elements can come into play, that we get to feel like we experience what's going on. Like we're not just caught up in this plot that's moving at this breakneck speed. I adore being able to sit down with again, like with Halfling Areas specifically, and just it's like the cozy element too, I think, is
Yeah.
when that comes into play, and it's just I find it just as gripping,
Thank you.
honestly.
Yeah, I completely understand why it doesn't translate with some readers, and because some
Sure.
readers like that action and adventure, and I
Yes.
get it 100%.
Mhm.
Like, especially
Mhm.
with, and I think especially after like things like Game of Thrones where like everything happens all the time,
Yes.
um we are sort of spoiled, and I think a lot of storytellers both in TV, movies, and writing thought that that's now like, oh, we need to have six different subplots
Mhm.
and they all need to be as dramatic and devastating as possible. And I'm
Mhm.
not surprised after kind of that phenomenon in the 2000 teens, we are now having a bunch of cozy stuff. On
Yeah.
top of we millennials are just stressed out little noodles.
Yeah.
Like life is dramatic and devastating enough. I
Yes.
don't need it in my spicy fiction. I
Amen.
just want them to
Yes.
like go into a coffee shop and fall in love. Like, oh my God. So I'm really not surprised that this is where it's swinging.
Is exactly how I feel.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I am, the world is just, I hate leaving my house. It's so stressful. So I don't need it in my everything else. So
Right, 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 exactly. I know. So true. Oh my gosh. So I feel like I wanna know a little bit. There's something we talked about a little bit already, talking about inspiration. You talked about, Tolkien
mhm.
and it being not the first big time fantasy writer. You mentioned another author, and I thought, "Oh, I have to know more." So tell us about your first fantasy inspiration in terms of author.
Oh, well, I think when I was talking about that, so Tolkien is considered the father of fantasy,
Okay.
especially in
Yes.
the modern, and I would say he is, and he definitely like for what we think of as fantasy,
Mhm.
um, he is it. But he would be the first one to tell you that he didn't start it. Like, he was pulling a lot from Scandinavian, Old Norse, that sort of stuff. He was I believe, a professor of linguistics and or Anglo-Saxon history. Fun fact: you got me on Tolkien, and that's a problem. Tolkien wrote the W section of our dictionary because most of our W words come from Anglo-Saxon, old Scandinavian words.
Oh
He's an
my
expert
goodness.
on that, so he wrote like I believe the Webster dictionary, the W section. They came to him when they were making the dictionary and said, "We need the W's," and he's like, "Okay," so he did it.
How fascinating.
And honestly, and I see this a lot with fantasy, right? That a lot of people, when they write Tolkien-esque fantasy, think they need to world build like he did. And I
Mm.
don't think that's necessary. So if you're
Mhm.
ever an author and you're thinking, "Oh my god, I need to like populate this world like
Mhm.
to the level Tolkien did and like have a language," and it's like, if you like feel it and breathe it the way that Tolkien did, have at it. If you
Mhm.
don't, that's absolutely fine, and you don't need to. You don't need to make up things just because you think you have to. Because honestly, Tolkien is such a nerd. Um, he wrote Elvish first, the
Mhm.
language, Elvish, the language, based on he was sort of miffed about how English came about. So like how English went from sort of like Old Norse, Old Germanic, became Old English, became Middle English, became English. He thought it was nonsensical how it happened as a thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so Elvish came about how he wished a language developed. So he made his own language, and then he was like, I need a world where this language would have developed. So the language came first, which is why it is a whole language. You can learn Tolkien Elvish, and script. Yeah, and it's a language that makes sense because it was written by a linguist. Um, and so if you are not that level of nerd about your world, that is fine, and you
Yes.
like don't feel the pressure to like make it that way. In the same way
Mhm.
with like George R.R. Martin and Game of Thrones, like he obviously lives and breathes that world.
Yes.
And that's fine, that's good, but you can write a fantasy that's not at that level. So like
Right.
I always like want to tell fantasy writers that like you don't have to do that because these two are just huge nerds.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like absolute huge nerds. And it's delightful, and you can feel how much they live and breathe their worlds.
Mhm.
But if you want
Mhm.
to be more character focused, that's absolutely fine. Like,
Now, would you say that again, someone with my background, I'm not as a big of a fantasy background, so I'm learning here as I'm talking to you. Would you say that that's sort of part of what differentiates between high and low fantasy? The world building, the languages versus being more character driven, or no?
I
Does that
think
not
the
relate?
technical definition is low fantasy is when magic intrudes on a normal world
Okay.
versus a high fantasy where it's just part of the world. Um,
Mm.
which isn't a
Okay.
very helpful, I think, definition. And right, you can get into the weeds too about like urban fantasy versus paranormal romance sort of
Oh,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Like, what is the difference between urban fantasy, low fantasy? Like, and we could have that debate. That's one of the raging debates about Harry Potter, right? Is it an urban fantasy or a high fantasy or a low
Mhm.
fantasy? Is Star Wars actually a sci-fi or is it a fantasy?
Oh,
Because really
it's
they're wizards until midichlorians come into the discussion. Um, because they're Jedi Knights, like it's fantasy until they ruined it.
this is
So I don't know because these definitions are so like everyone has an opinion as to why. I think
Mhm.
personally for me, I always think of it as high fantasy if it takes place in a sort of like the past, but not quite. You play with the rules.
Yes.
Low fantasy, it might be a bit more like an alternate history, maybe. Like I could see Stonehearts being a low fantasy. because it is populated in actual early medieval Wales.
Mhm.
Um, but but sort
Yeah.
of thing. So I know it's one of those things, and like everyone has a differing opinion, and like everyone's right, you know, like it doesn't.
Oh, I love it. Everyone's right. There you go.
Everyone's
Boom.
right. It's just a matter of like you have to put things in a box in order to sell them, sort of thing.
Yes. Sure, sure.
But yes,
Yeah.
so Tolkien is the grandfather of fantasy, but in my opinion, Ursula K. Le Guin is the mother of fantasy, and she's also a better writer.
Tell us a little bit more about her because that I sadly, I have not heard her name before you mentioned
Really? Okay, so she wrote the Chronicles with the Wizards. I forget the first word of Earthsea. Earthsea being one word.
Okay.
Um, uh, Interestingly, the Miyazaki Studios. So they made like Howl's Moving Castle, um, Spirited Away, the Japanese filmmaker.
Yes.
Not the main one, but his son actually made an Earthsea. Like they did make an Ursula K. Le Guin Earthsea
Ooh.
film. It's not
Oh,
one of the more popular ones, but it's still good. They've
mm.
made a couple low budget films of it too. It hasn't gotten the Hollywood treatment that Lord of the Rings has. Ursula K. Le Guin is probably one of the best writers of the 20th century. She's an
Mm.
excellent essay writer. So you
Mm.
know you can write when you can write outside your normal genre. Um, and she has so many good like one-liners, and her world building is fascinating, and she's a better writer than Tolkien. Um,
So would you say
but
that she's
Tolkien
one
isn't
of
necessarily interested in writing well. He's interested in like exploring the world, which is why like I think people watch the movies and like consume Lord of the Rings in this way, and then they get to the books and they're like, wait, what? Because like Aragorn sings about a hill for like every other page. There's a lot of singing that doesn't happen in the movies, a lot of poems and things like that. So very
Yeah.
different vibes.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So would you count her as one of the authors who inspired you as you were developing as your own author?
I'd say a bit, yeah. I mostly discovered her in college. And it was kind of fun to I think she inspired me in that like it was permission to break outside of the like Tolkien-esque. I think because he is so important
Mm.
to the history that like sometimes people feel that they can't write something else. Like it has to be like a Tolkien, it has to be the hero's journey. It has to be populated with like some sort of always evil species that we don't mind killing. Like works.
Right, yes.
Um, there has to be this big quest sort of thing. And I think a lot of people have finally been given permission to not write that. You don't have to write a Tolkien-esque fantasy. Um, Perhaps if you do, it's a lot of work.
Right.
But I think we're moving out of that, right? Like you see, was that one? The coffee and
Oh,
like
Bookshops and Bone Dust
yes,
or,
yeah,
Legends and Lattes.
yeah.
Yes.
Like you see that sort of thing, and I'm not surprised that that became very popular.
Mhm.
Though
Yeah.
I have feelings about it, but
Okay.
well, of course, Tor, like the first cozy fantasy they pick up. Like I'm happy that it's like it is technically LGBTQ,
Sure.
like just barely on the spectrum, but like that's the one they pick up, and it was like written by a white guy.
And narrated.
Oh, great! I'm really happy that these two women's love stories are being narrated by a white guy. Great,
I
like
didn't even think of it like that.
it's really, really representing. Thanks for. And it's not remotely like he's the first one who discovered he's the first one to benefit, towards.
Mm.
So which
Yes.
is why I
Yes.
love indie authors, indie romance, because they really do push, I think, the genres. And trad pubs are really catching up, like they're playing catch up. So
Yes. Yes. While we're on that topic, are there any indie authors that you recommend that we think about? Are
Oh,
there any, or do you
I mean,
or
I
we
have
talk
to.
about
I
that in
will
this interview?
never not shout out my bestie, Abigail Kelly. She
Okay.
writes amazing paranormal romance. I would say if you like Immortals After Dark series by Cressley Cole, or the not Inheritance, the Hidden Legacies trilogy by Alana Andrews, you will love Abigail's work. The New Protectorate series is there's hot jewel toned elves, dragon men who like they just want to make you a really pretty bed. Like their whole mating thing is that they just want to make you a cozy bed. I was like,
I
yes,
love
yes.
it.
And just all of these high powered, awesome, and there's orcs, and it's just I love her. She does her own
Mhm.
covers and art, and she's just so disgustingly talented. I will
Mhm.
always shout her out.
And her name, remind me again of her name. Because I wanna
Abigail
put
Kelly.
Abigail Kelly. I'm gonna pop her in the description box after we are
Thank
offline.
you. Yes,
So
I will never shut up about Abigail. She's my
I
bestie.
love it. I
She
love it.
is also Beta Red Heart Song for me, so I love you, Abigail.
Ooh.
And very much helps. She lives down in San Francisco, so she definitely helped me with the
Oh,
no,
very
that wouldn't happen here, or no, pick this neighborhood. Um, so we go for accuracy here.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, I love it. I
yeah.
love it.
And of course, like I love Ruby Dixon. Who doesn't love Ruby Dixon? I think
Oh, yeah.
she really gave a lot of other authors permission to write these sorts of stories.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I just absolutely love her. I adore Elizabeth Hunter, another PNR author. She's got a lot of really, really good series and just such a classic writer. My favorite series of hers is the Irene Chronicles. Irene is Irin. Irene Chronicles, sort of like angels and demons vibes, very jet setting. Like a lot of it takes place in Istanbul and just
Ooh,
great stuff. But yeah, indie
neat.
authors are doing, and like if you're in the monster romance community, you've read CM Nacosta, like of course
Yes.
you have, and like
Yeah.
really she's pushing a lot of these. Like of course we have our Cressley Cole, Neilani Singh,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
Gina Showalter, and sort of
mhm.
Thea Harrison in there too. We're all like original OG monster romance. Like
Yes.
let's give credit where credit is due to the queens.
Yeah.
And I think like it's just really fun seeing that develop over the last like 20 years.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, this sort of brings me into one of my other questions. What do you like to read if you're relaxing? And then I'm tagging this on as well. What do you consider reading outside of your own comfort zone? You mentioned that earlier, that it's important for everyone to try to read out of their comfort zone at certain points. But what about you? What do you like and what would you consider outside?
I definitely read mostly indie at this point. I have authors that are traditionally published that I also read. I read a lot of almost exclusively romance. I read a lot of paranormal romance, a lot of fantasy romance, science fiction romance. If Ruby Dixon publishes it, I read it, sort of thing. I think at this point, more out of my comfort zone is I do try and still read a bit of literary fiction here and there, especially since I'm just from that like more academic background. I think it's
Okay.
interesting to see what people are doing with literary fiction, especially since literary fiction, it's I would say it certainly considers itself the more artistic writing.
It considers itself that.
And
I love
it considers itself the better versus genre fiction. The market would disagree. Um, on top of like in the way that there's tropes in genre fiction, there's tropes in literary fiction.
it.
Um,
Ah.
like uh, I obviously have daddy issues trope and uh the like let's get high and have a vision quest trope, and oh my god, if I have to read one more story about how Nevada in the desert is a metaphor for emptiness and loneliness, like I will drop kick a book. I'm over it. But so there's certainly tropes, like
Yes,
enough that
yes.
I just I hate the desert. Like that's just me as a person. I hate the desert. I am such a Californian. I hate Nevada. No
Okay.
offense to Nevada, but you suck. I maintain that when you've gone from California to Nevada because the roads get better and the scenery goes to shit. So, oh, we're in Nevada.
That's so fun. I mean, I'm an East Coaster. I've never heard any of this. That's too funny. Oh, I
Nevada's
love
just very dusty.
it. Oh, we've got more from the California tribe here.
California tribe. Well, and I
Woo!
can say this with love because my father is a big, like, he's into like the pioneer history. So
Oh,
when I was little, I got dragged all over the California Sierras and into Nevada to like go see all the boom towns.
okay.
So like that was his version of a good time. So
What
I've
if
been to a
my
lot of
father's doing that? That happened to
dusty
me
old
too.
shacks in the middle of nowhere. Like, look, it's historical. Like, oh my god. So are like beautiful monuments in San Francisco, but we're not going there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah, we did the same thing, although where we were from, it was either Revolutionary War or Civil War. We were still like
100%.
all
Yeah.
the
Like
and they all
my
fought
dad
on
would
the
love to
battlefield.
do like if
Yeah,
given the chance, my dad would love to go back east and do like the
yeah.
Civil War trip where you like go from all the battlefields. Like
Yes. I've been to all of them, I can tell you. They
I
all
mean,
look
they look
the same.
beautiful. I've personally never been to the East Coast, but it looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Except I don't know how you deal with snow.
We don't get a whole lot. Well, I'm kind of more in the southern area,
Okay.
so we don't get a whole lot. We get a couple if we're lucky, but yeah, yeah. We've got Wisconsin here.
Wisconsin. Oh my goodness.
Native Southern California. I love it. I love it. I got taken to all the national parks and state parks. I like trees. Awesome.
Wow. That's a lot of
See,
parks.
I would have loved to have gone to more parks as opposed to just battlefields and things. The tribe groweth. I love it.
So I will say, when I want to say 12 or 13, a big summer road trip was we went to Zion National Park
Yeah.
in Utah.
Oh, no.
Desert.
You're like, "I hate this."
I
This is
hated
what
it.
started the
No,
hatred of the desert, right?
my parents will like ask me like, "Oh, don't you remember the trip?" And honestly, I really don't remember the trip because I went through a Costco pack of AAA or AA batteries that powered my Game Boy and my CD player. So no, I do not remember that trip. I remember being hot. I remember there was a really nice pool at one of the hotels. And
Everything
my
else
dad
is
illegally
blocked out.
spread some of my grandfather's ashes at Zion National Park.
Oh,
You
that's
are very it is very
beautiful.
legal. They do not they know that people want to do that and they're like, we
Yes,
don't want your dead relatives' remains in the park. So
right.
it was more of like we pulled off at a viewpoint and my dad
Yes.
like had some of my grandfather in one of those like old timey film canisters.
Oh, yes, I
With
remember
like a
those.
pop. Pull. Get back in the car. Bye, grandpa.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment.
They really don't want you doing that.
I can imagine. That makes sense. I love it. Sometimes I miss Cali, but Ohio has seasons. Call it summer. Cali, it's summer, cooler summer, and fire season. Oh, no.
100%.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think we had false spring last week, and then this weekend it was stormy and wintry again. And by that I
Oh.
mean it rained and it was 59 degrees.
Oh my.
Also, Californians can't drive in rain.
Oh no.
We are
It's
terrible at it. It happens so infrequently that we forget how. And
yeah.
like not this past winter that we just had, but the winter before was actually very wet. Um,
Oh.
it was like a much more than we had been used to, especially with the drought. And we had
Mm.
sort of slush one
Oh.
time where I am down in the valley, like around the Sacramento Valley, and we it does not snow in the valley. But we were getting it was cold enough to get slush, and when I tell you the traffic came to an absolute stop.
Yikes.
Everyone's like, what is this falling from the sky? What is this sky water? It's just
Sky water, I love it.
no, we are not equipped for weather.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny.
And then we complain about the drought, but then
Oh,
if it
right.
rains for more than 2 days, we're like, this is too much. This is I don't know.
It's so hard to find the right weather.
And like honestly, Californians get so grumpy if they haven't seen the sun in 3 days. Like we have the most extreme um sad, right? Seasonal depression. Like
Yes.
we don't get it here because it's always nice, but then when we move to other places, Like, I know several people who were raised in California, moved up to, like, Portland or Seattle, and had to move back, because they were just sad all the time because it was cloudy.
Oh, no. Oh, it's funny, Julie's piping in right now. Very used to Skywater being a Brit. Yeah, I
100%.
will talk to Julie and she'll say like, "Well, it's raining for the umpteenth day in a row and there's no sun," and yeah, over in England, yikes.
I know,
Oh,
I was lucky enough to do a summer abroad, at Oxford during college, and we were there in the
wow.
summer in July, so it's obviously not cold, but it's still raining. And so we
Mhm.
just were as precious little California orchids. We don't know what to do because like we're all in our like LL Bean rain jackets, and it's really hot. We're like, what do we do? It's raining, and it's like you get an umbrella, you doofus. But it's just like because all the locals are obviously like they're in their nice clothes and their mini skirts and their shorts and
Yeah,
everything, and they just
yeah.
have an umbrella because they know it'll stop in 10 minutes. But we're here in our like LL Bean rain slickers, like it's the middle of February. We do not know how to deal with it. We're very bad at weather.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I love it. Here we go. He says, "I'm from California, but moved to Wisconsin in 2017, misses the beach, and they have lakes here."
Yes,
I don't know. I've seen movies where people go to lakes instead of beaches. It looks interesting.
it's fine.
You don't have waves knocking you down, I don't think. That's probably
No,
nice.
that's just the Great Lakes.
Yeah,
Then it's
I don't know. Again, East Coast, I have no
from
idea.
Mexico and then you live in Calgary? Oh my god.
Whoa! It's been snowing
Snowing? No.
nonstop since
Nuh-uh.
Tuesday. Whoa.
I don't do anything below 40. It's not.
Okay, and then we have Amina. Amina's bringing it back here. "How did you write so well about the snow in Airy?" I love Amina so much. This is amazing. She said, "I was cold reading it. Do tell us. Inquiring minds want to know, how did you write about all that snow?"
Well, the area I'm from in California would get snow once in a while, and it was pretty easy to like go higher up into the foothills and the mountains. We were about 2 hours away from Lake Tahoe, which is one of
Oh,
the
wow.
major snow resorts. So I have been in snow. I have I have touched it. I have seen the white. Um oh, this is funny. This caveat. I have family who lives in Hawaii. My cousins grew up on Maui and they visited one summer when I was a teenager and we had a thunderstorm and it was hailing and they went outside and were, is this snow? No, sweetie, it's hail. Get back inside before it hurts you. Oh my god.
Oh
No, the
my
sky's trying to kill you. That's not snow. No, I have been in snow. I have been uh my dad and I would go up all the time and play around in the snow and take the dogs and sleds and
Nice.
um
Nice.
so I think and I was just sort of imagining like what it would be like to be in a very cold castle.
Mhm.
Um just very and I because I've been lucky enough to travel being in some of these old buildings and you're just like it's cold in here. I don't like this. Um, so that like I am from California, but I'm from a more rural part of California that I was sort of able to imagine what being out there in the wilderness was sort of like. But
Yeah.
I would say mostly my imagination.
Imagination. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. That's awesome. We've got some more really cute weather related comments I just have to go through. I have to say it's all nice till you have to shovel or go out. Very true.
100%.
I love it. Look, I've gotten used to leaving my farm in the morning, playing in the canyon and the rivers, going to the beach for lunch, up in the desert in the afternoon, into the mountains for tea or pie and snow. That sounds like heaven. I love it. We've still got snow. Not sure how long it will last. What's spring? Indeed, Deborah. What is spring?
Well, I will say to be fair, it dumps snow up in the mountains, so the ski resorts are all still open.
Okay.
Um, so we do get snow here. Like the passes between California and Nevada over the
Yeah.
mountains, like Donner Pass,
Mhm.
which I'm not sure. again, I have feelings about them naming it after the Donner Party.
I was just thinking, I was like, I know the Donner Party. That's all I know. I see again, like I don't know much about the West Coast at all, but I know about the
Okay.
Donner Party.
No,
Yeah.
one of the ways to California, Nevada is Donner Pass over the Sierras, and sometimes it closes from snow.
Why would they name it after the Donner Party? That's awful.
Like, why are we naming things after things that didn't go right?
Yeah, right. That's awful. So we all think about that every time we talk about the Donner Pass. Lovely. Lovely. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if we feel like we've exhausted this topic, I'm happy to go on to the next.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Let's see. Tell us about the experience that you went through publishing your first book. I'm so excited to know.
It was a bit well, I guess what do you define as first book? Um, when I was in middle school, I
Right.
wrote a fairly Tolkien-esque dragon rider book that has been
Ooh.
compared to Aragon. I had not read Aragon at the time. It was just a happy accident.
Mm.
Um, and again, I wrote it as like a 12-year-old, so it's not good. Um, but I was lucky enough that one of my grandmother always believed in me. She was just like, yeah, let's just get this self-published. So we went through that process. One of my absolute best friends growing up is an amazing artist, and even at 12 she was drawing amazing, and she did the cover for me.
Oh, oh
um
my gosh.
it's still attached to my Goodreads.
It
I'm very
is?
annoyed by that. I can't unget it attached to my Goodreads.
I love it though. Oh my gosh, how cute.
um and so that was like a, sort of like baby self-publishing sort of thing. um
I
A
love
Time
it.
of War and Demons was, I sort of consider, my first one,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
like it's got like a real like kind of genre specific cover. I actually attempted to market it a little bit. I actually made royalties on it. I actually got
Mhm.
reviews. I actually
Yeah.
don't remember much about it. It was a very big a learning process. Like
Sure.
how to format. Like honestly, writing is the easy part.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's the formatting and making sure all the files are correct
Oh
and
gosh.
picking. You have to pick the size of your book. You have to, um, get a proof and make sure the margins are correct. So there's just, you have to wear a lot of hats as an indie author, and so I think I didn't really appreciate that until like I was ready to actually publish A Time of War and Demons. And
Mhm.
then Airy happened, and I followed a lot of the sort of template I did for A Time of War and Demons with Airy, but then I wanted to rebrand, so like Airy was sort of the first book in a lot of ways that I rebranded.
Mhm.
So it's just a really big learning curve.
Sure, sure.
And now it's like, I'm still sort of knee deep in the getting everything ready for Heart Song. Like even though what's coming, it's still like it's a big load of work.
Sure,
Getting
sure.
the ARC review files ready for the ARC team,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
accessible to them. And
Mm.
a lot of this you can sort of like, if you have the resources to, you can sort of find other people to do this for you. But
Yeah.
I'm a control freak. And I also sort of like I do enjoy the process of formatting. It's something that like you can turn on a TV show and just have it on in the background and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just a lot. So then you have to have the ebook file, and then you
Sure.
have to have the paperback file, and then if you're going to do a hardcover, that's its own file. It's all its own setup process in Amazon. It's all its own
Mm.
covers and this and that and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. So
Wow. Things that
it's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah, it sounds like well, that would explain why I was looking at your author's note for, the first quote unquote published A Time of War and Demons. You had mentioned that it took you years to write. How
It
many
did.
years total do you think from start to finish did it probably take?
Mm, well, it's a bit hard because I started
Oh.
it in college,
Oh, sure, sure.
um, and did not finish it until after college. So I had probably the first 100 pages
Okay.
done in like 2012,
Okay.
and then did not finish it until 2018. I
Oh,
was not
wow.
actively writing on it
Right.
all that time.
Mhm.
So it's a bit hard. I feel like it just sort of depends on the project and if the project fights you.
Yeah.
Um as I continue to write, they take me less time. Airy was weird too because Airy was my master's thesis.
Mhm.
And then there was Haven, which was longer. Haven took me a solid 10 months to write. Now
Wow.
granted, I have a normal day job, so I write in my spare time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the goal is to not need a day job to like
Right.
continue, hopefully as I continue to write and have books out, I would love to go full time.
Yeah.
So yeah, day
Wow.
jobs are exhausting. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, I didn't realize that you're also doing that. Good grief. Hats off to you. Amazing.
I mean,
Amazing.
I need that sweet, sweet healthcare.
Yeah. Amen.
I'm
Yes.
unfortunately a bit of a frequent flyer, so I do need that
Oh,
healthcare.
I know what you mean. I know
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
going through that right now. Like my husband's trying to figure out what his job is. I'm like, just make sure we have good health insurance.
yeah.
That's all I care about.
I know, and it's
Lots of things.
unfortunately like health insurance is tied to your romantic relationship, which is very silly. Like I have a housemate who I've lived with for a very long time. We're very good friends. We met in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
She has a good job that she's not trying to quit. And I'm just like, why can't I get on her insurance?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be
We're
nice?
basically common law married at this point, even though
There
we're
you go.
platonic. So I don't understand why the government cares, like if it's a romantic or a platonic relationship, but okay.
You know what? This is making me think. I bet you anything, if it isn't already out, there's probably a contemporary romance in the works with this exact plot.
Probably. I mean, you have that bad Netflix movie
Yeah.
about like she marries him and he's like a Marine or something just for the healthcare.
Yeah, right.
But it's stupid because it's considered fraud to
Oh
do that.
gosh,
Yeah, you're not
that would be a
allowed to
problem.
like marry someone for the insurance, especially in the military. Oh,
Right.
oh, oh, oh.
Oh, are we getting
Look what I have. Oh
Oh!
my, you messed up.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
You got within grabbing distance. He's like, no, 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 no. Okay.
Oh!
Yeah, he
What is
messed
his name again? What is
That
I
is his full name is Benvolio.
Benvol Oh, stop. Benvolio.
But he goes
Love it.
mostly by Benny or are you coming in for more? Um, he goes by Benny. I mostly call him Bubba or Mr. Bubs.
Mr.
Like
Bub.
I don't think he could tell you his name. I don't call him Benny. Like he thinks his name is Bubba or Mr.
Mr.
Bubs.
Bubs. Yeah, there
Hi.
you go.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, speaking of Aerie, I've been dying to ask this question. You mentioned this in your dedication. What Disney reference wound up saving this book?
Okay, so I was talking with my friend from grad school
Yes.
because she beta read Aerie. She knows it almost better than I do.
Mhm.
Love you, Jeannie. And in the scene where Lana is going after the fugitive and Belle is escaping and he finds
Yes.
her.
Yes.
And he has that moment deciding if he's going to leave her in the snow.
Yes.
Jeannie called it a reverse Beauty and the Beast, right? When the Beast comes and saves Belle from the wolves, and Belle has that moment of she could get on her horse and she could leave,
Mhm.
or she could, as she chooses to do, she puts the Beast on her horse and takes him back to the castle.
Yeah.
And it is very much like that because I was really struggling with the scene. And she was
Mm.
like, "It's a reverse Beauty and the Beast," like
Yeah.
Belle um
Wow.
decides to like her life is not worth my freedom right now. So
Mhm. Mhm.
that
Mhm.
first real moment of compassion between the two of them.
Yes. Oh, it was such a beautiful scene. Oh, I love it. And now I love it even more.
That's the reverse Beauty and the Beast.
I love it. And you had mentioned just a moment ago also that you spent about 10 months writing Haven.
Yes.
And you wrote in the dedication there that if it hadn't been for the fans, the book would not have been created. So I'd love to know a little bit more about that too.
I think Airy was such an emotional book, and it was because it was sort of framed as a literary fiction and very I wouldn't say the book is necessarily personal to me because neither of the characters is very much like me, but it took a lot out of me to write because it is such
Mhm.
a emotional book,
Yeah.
and I knew how Haven was going to be just as emotional, but we were also going to have the quest plot.
Oh, right.
um like if you think nothing happens in Airy, too much happens in Haven. um
A lot's
so much
going on in
happens in
that
Haven.
one.
Oh my goodness, almost full.
Yes.
And I think if people, I mean, there was like 2.5 years between the books. Um, and obviously like the pandemic happened, and that was a big reason why I wasn't writing. And I had gone through a loss. I had lost my grandmother passed away in 2021.
Mm.
Um, and it was just sort of a like I probably could have just not written anything ever again pretty easily at that point in my life. But people continuing to ask, oh my gosh, like especially since I had always planned this was always going to be a duet.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't have the motivation to do it for myself, but people getting
Mhm.
in touch with me and saying, I loved Airy. I desperately need Haven. I need to know what happens.
Yes.
Sort of gave me the motivation. Like in 2022, I decided, okay, if I can't do it for myself, I'm at least going to do it for the readers.
Yes.
And like really decided to actually, have this Instagram account, really actually try and market it. And it's just gone better than I could have ever hoped. That I think I would not have done it for myself, which I think is very true. I think in a lot of things, especially for women, right? We won't do it for ourselves, but we'll do it for someone else.
Oh, so
Um,
true. So true.
so I would not have written Haven if people hadn't wanted it because I knew it was going to be a lot of effort, um, pretty emotional.
Yeah.
I was going to be putting my poor babies through. They've already been through so much, and then here's some more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that yeah, I knew it was going to be a whole thing, and it was going to take a lot out of me to write.
Mhm.
It definitely, it's not that it fought me. It was just sort of a harder book to write. Like Halfling is, it's not as long, but Halfling took me 3 months to write.
Wow.
Um, Heart Song has only taken me 3.5. So again, it's just I wouldn't have done it for myself because I'm
Wow.
lazy sometimes. So I think doing it for the fans, it
Yeah.
really did help to like have the expectations. People are looking forward to this, and I didn't want to disappoint.
Well, you did not.
Oh,
I adored it so much, and I loved and I wanna see the epilogue where we see I'm not gonna give anything away, but just the happy ending for characters I wasn't even sure I would see again and just oh, it's so good. So good.
I
So
loved reading that epilogue. It was I teared up a little bit. It was so
yes,
delightful to have like imagine what they're doing 5 years later, and I love an epilogue.
yes, yes. Oh, I love it so much. Well, let's talk a little bit about your writing process to include, like, if you want your writing space, how you do research, day in the life, anything you wanna talk about.
Yeah, I think, and this is most writers will tell you this. The best thing to do is to try and write every day.
Mm.
Um, if you read, like Stephen King has a very famous writing, how to become a writer sort of book.
Oh,
Um, and because it's sort of, and one of my graduate thesis chair put it this way, and I think it's very helpful to think about. And I think this is true for all art. Writing isn't this sort of like divine muse. You just get this divine inspiration and then you just write a book.
mhm.
It's writing is a muscle that you need to exercise. And the more you do so, the easier it will be.
Yeah.
Which is where sort of writing pretty consistently comes into it. So now that I've sort of I think part of why Haven took so long is because like I hadn't been exercising that muscle. Like I finished Airy and I hadn't written literally anything for almost a year. But now that like Haven and like I sort of took a break from Haven to write Stonehearts because Stonehearts was going to go into an anthology. And then, I gave myself a little break and then I wrote Halfling. And then it's all just sort of snowballed. So I think it's easier the more you do it. You get better at it. So I definitely try to, when I am writing a book, now I try and write mostly every day. I tend to try and write like about half a chapter a day. Other people will say something different, like they just try and do a page or they do a whole chapter. It sort of depends on how much time you have.
Mm.
If I was full time, I could probably sit down in a day and write a whole chapter. But when I have like 2 hours in the evening, half a chapter is what I have time for. But yeah, I like to do it by myself. I'm not one of those writers who's like going to go to a coffee shop and write the next great American novel. I will just people watch and drink coffee. It's not me. I can't get anything done in public. Like it very much needs to be very quiet. And sometimes I can listen to music. Sometimes I can't. It sort of depends on the scene I'm writing.
What music do you listen to when you do listen?
It sort of depends. Once in a while, sometimes I'll listen to a song that I think sort of captures the vibe of the scene.
Ooh,
So,
nice.
if you're writing a spicy scene, you probably don't have like Evanescence on or like something that's really sad. You have I also listen a lot to I'll listen to classical music a lot
Yeah.
or Pavarotti.
Really?
Yeah. I really like Pavarotti on top
Yeah.
of I don't speak Italian, so I have no clue what he's saying. So I can't sort of like obsess over the words of the song.
Yes.
I do also like show tunes for that too, because show tunes are very much like they have a point. Like
Mhm.
because they come from a show, like they are singing about a certain thing, they're not really open to interpretation.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I find those very easy to like put on and listen to.
What's some of your favorite show tunes?
I absolutely love One Day More from Les Mis. Uh,
Oh!
Music of the Night from Phantom of the Opera.
Yes,
All
yes.
that.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Mm.
Basically the entirety of Les Mis. I absolutely adore Les Mis. I got to
Mhm.
see it live in London when I did summer abroad, and that was absolutely amazing.
Oh,
Um,
how cool.
yeah, I love
It.
I love a lot of show tunes. I listen to a
Yeah.
lot of the songs from show tunes. Like I haven't necessarily seen them. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen Cats, but like who doesn't love Memory sort of thing.
Oh, so true.
So
Yeah.
I just sort of love I love big voices and like
Energy.
sort of
Yeah.
um that show tunes have, and like that's why I think I like Pavarotti is it's very like big and loud and
Yeah.
in a certain way. Like I don't love a lot of rock music. Like I do like some, but
Mhm, mhm.
there's just sort of like big powerful voice sort of thing. I
Yeah.
do like that a lot.
Nice. Oh, fun. Oh, I love it. So, a day in your life, I guess a typical day, you're going to work for the vast majority of your
Yep.
day.
Yep. I
Okay.
like a 20-minute commute. I get up at like 5:40 a.m.
Ooh,
Get to work by 6:30. Mostly just I don't have to be there that early. I just don't like fighting traffic. I'm just not someone who finds joy in spending my life in the car.
right.
So get to work, put in my 8.5 hours, 8 hours plus an unpaid lunch. Get back by about 3:30. I usually vegetate
Nice.
from like 3:30 to 5:30. Eat dinner, watch shows with my roommate. We catch up on the shows that we watch together, and then I try about 7:30. I'll be up in my room in my writing chair, which I'm in now,
Oh, nice.
and get my words in.
Nice. And do you prefer to type or I was hearing okay, because I know some people prefer to dictate into, like, a
Oh my
recorder or
No, I would make myself blush or giggle. When I was saying these things out loud. So honestly, sometimes until like, especially when I was writing the first couple spicy scenes that I had written in Airy, because A Time of War and Demons is fade to black. Um,
Yes, it is.
I definitely was doing this. Like I was typing and looking up. Like I couldn't even look at what I was writing.
Yeah, it seems like as you have moved on as a writer, the scenes get spicier and
Yeah.
spicier.
Yes.
And no one's complaining about this, of course, but
Oh,
as
good.
I said, I finished A Time of War and Demons this morning, and yeah, it was very much fade to black, and, I wouldn't even I mean, it certainly is a romance. It's a fantasy romance, but I think the romance is sort of, not
It's
quite
one of several plots. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, perfectly stated, yes. I don't wanna label it or anything, but yeah. Oh my gosh, awesome. Okay, well, that is awesome. I love that, and I love that you have a writing chair, that's so fun.
I do. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so for in your opinion, what would you say makes a great story?
I would say there needs to be something compelling about it.
Mhm.
And what different people find compelling is going to be different. Um, for me, it tends to need to be the love story needs to be compelling.
Mhm. Mhm.
Meaning it needs to be well done. So it could be characters, sort of, a character type that we've seen before. But as long as like the romance itself for me is compelling, like I'll finish it. Um, I think what makes a story great is you have multiple compelling things.
Yeah.
Um, and it sort of ties into it like it needs to be written well, but I don't think you could have a very well written something or other,
Mhm.
and it's not
Mhm.
necessarily a good book because
Yeah,
it's not compelling.
yeah.
And that's why you do see, right, like people complain about, for example, the burgeoning genre of erotic sentient objects in its own, you know,
Yeah.
I would say what's compelling about that is the idea, like, oh, that's like titillating, like let's read a door romance.
It's certainly novel. It's a
Yeah,
novel.
it's a novel.
Yeah.
But so something about it needs to be compelling and interesting.
Yes.
What makes
Yes.
you know what makes takes it to the next level, I think, is being able to combine, like, it's a compelling character in a compelling situation, and then hopefully it's good writing. And I think
Mm.
sometimes you do see that when people complain about, like, oh, well, why is this popular? It's not like the writing's not that good, blah. It's like it's because it's compelling. Like, it's an interesting, like, the plot is interesting, the characters are, believable, endearing, blah
Sure.
blah.
Sure.
Um, so there needs to be some special sauce in it.
Mhm, mhm. In fact, that kinda leads me into a question that I got beforehand from one of my online friends. She was mentioning I guess this isn't specifically a question per se, but certainly something you could expound on for us, but she mentioned that your heroes and heroines are often different species, and they see beauty in each other, whereas people from their own species see them as flawed. So, is there anything that you can say more about that? Because I hadn't thought about that until she mentioned that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's really true." And
It
that's
is.
part of what
That's
makes it so
a great
compelling
thought.
to me,
Yeah.
they find this acceptance. Okay, but I'm not gonna answer it because it's not it's for you to say.
I think it's a really good way to add tension immediately. I think that's why people love, like, the enemies or rivals to lovers trope,
Sure,
is it
sure.
inherently has tension in it. And
Mm.
I think it's fun to think through a problem of, like, what makes someone lovable. And I think it's also very beautiful that when someone is loved for their whole self,
Yeah.
and I think that's really the fun thing about monster romance is you do have this, if you take away um so the sort of like outer beauty, unless we're talking about the fae, of course. But a lot of like harder core monster romance, it is like,
Yeah.
oh, he's a bug, like, oh god, he's got how many eyeballs?
Yes, yes.
So you take away that sort of, like, you have to make the characters fall in love
Yeah.
without that sort of, like, yeah, we might be, like, we all loved the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, sort of
Yeah.
thing. We all were like, oh, when he turned human. Very, "Hmm." He looks so French. I don't know how, but he just looks so French.
But we love the French.
We do love the French, and that's not a bad thing. But I was just like, wow,
Right.
he looks French. I remember thinking that as a child. Um, but and I think part of that is that as the beast, he was more compelling.
Sure.
Again, like the character was more interesting when he was the
Yeah.
beast.
You're like, "That's not what you look like."
Yeah, and getting to it sort of negates the like physical beauty aspect. So I think it's sort of a fun challenge, especially like again, I think with Lena and Belle in the duet, they're both actually fairly attractive, especially to their own people, but because they are
Yes.
opposite species and they
Yes.
are at war, they
Yeah.
actually don't find each other attractive at all for quite a
Mhm.
while, for
Mhm.
good reason.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of a fun thing to do as a writer. Like, how do you overcome that? It is a sort of its own inherent challenge. Um, and it is sort of, I think it makes it even sweeter when they do come together. Like they've overcome, like sometimes in romance novels, especially classic ones, it's like, yeah, he's hot, of course, like sort of thing. And, it does beg the question of in real life, like, are they bad behavior or do they get away with it because they're hot sort of thing? There is
Oh,
the
sure.
beautiful person privilege that you don't
Mm.
necessarily get when you
Mhm.
make your characters different species and they might not necessarily immediately be attracted to each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now granted, I love an insta love story. Like when it's
Sure.
done right,
Yes.
food for the soul.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I guess I just like a challenge. I don't like it to be easy.
Sure, sure. Well, it's interesting that, talking about this because I feel like a lot of the really popular contemporary romance, again, coming back to my general background, contemporary romance, the hottest books right now, it seems like, for at least from my vantage point, are ones where it's the unconditional love and the loving through someone's pain or the ways that makes their life more challenging, and so I love seeing that as well in your writing too. And I just love how you can incorporate that with the different species and just the overall feelings of acceptance again, and just really neat.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have the gal who asked the question who brought this up. She says, "Thank you for the
Friends are
answer.
great, yes.
It's so beautiful, and
They
yes,
are,
the
okay.
friends are great." Yes, we do.
I
They are.
love a story about a sad Frenchman. Like I love the Phantom of the Opera. We love the Hunchback of Notre Dame. We love
Yes.
Beauty and the Beast. We love a sad Frenchman.
Yeah. And speaking of, Deborah mentioned she'd been lucky to see Les Mis in Cleveland twice.
Yes.
Once in
Lovely
LA.
best.
Love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh, how fun. Yeah. Oh, so that was beautiful. So I wanted to ask you too, how do you name your characters?
I think it's a bit all over the place. Sometimes some characters just immediately I know their name. Like Ennis from A Time of War and Demons. I always knew
Mm,
her name was Ennis.
mhm.
Um I love watching the Olympics. And when I do, I often write down names because you will find names from different cultures watching
Yes.
the Olympics. And so it's a great place to find names and especially surnames. Like if you're not sure, um, like, yeah, you could name, a Scottish person, Mackenzie,
Yeah.
but just but if you watch them and you do see like, what are these, like some normal, more interesting names, it's fun to write them down. I do go on, I think my algorithm thinks I'm having a baby because I definitely go on name sites. For something like a halfling, I always knew Oric was going to be named Oric.
Mm.
Because I mostly wanted to make that joke about Oric the orc.
Yes, yes.
It's such a bad joke.
I love it. I
But
love it.
then actually, interestingly, Sorsha was originally named Vivian.
Oh.
And I just have a list of names I like. I like the
Mhm.
sound too. And sometimes I'll just go through that and like if one of them sticks out to me, like that's their name.
Yeah.
And that stuck out to me. But eventually I was like, Vivian just feels too long. It
Mm.
also didn't feel right for the world.
Okay.
So I decided to make her world more Celtic Gaelic, especially more Irish. And
Mm.
so when you choose a culture, and I think that's one easy way when you're writing a fantasy to like kind of keep names within a culture,
Yeah.
is to choose a naming convention. So I kind
Oh.
of only pulled names from Irish Gaelic sources. Even the town names, I Googled towns in Ireland and I would pick one and just slightly alter the spelling. Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah, and the other lands that are named in halfling, like the other kingdoms, are just old words for her kingdom's name, Iria, is an old name for Ireland. Caledon is an old name, is Caledonia is the old term for Scotland, and Pyros is an old word for Spain.
Oh my goodness, I love this. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Are there any other words that you've got embedded in your books that you can think of right off the top of your head that are interesting names that people wouldn't necessarily know what they mean?
Well, Caris from Stonehearts is an actual Welsh name, and it is tied to the word Cariad, which does mean like love, heart, mate, darling.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
like
I
there
love
is I guess she must be Welsh, but she's like a UK comedian and artist. Her name is Cariad Lloyd, and
Oh,
I love her
okay.
name. She's so cute.
Oh,
And I
fun.
just love her name. So Caris is and Caris is like you could find people named Caris in Wales. But it is tied to the word Cariad.
Mhm. Oh,
Gabrielle, I completely made up. It sounded elfy to me.
it sounded elfy.
Yeah.
I love Deborah. You mean authors don't just face roll on a keyboard for names?
I'm not saying that some don't. I definitely am someone who I like A names, like names that begin with A. So I've definitely had to reel myself in. They're all over the place in a time of war and demons. Like I had to just, my God, it's too many. I just really like, and sometimes I just like the look of a name.
Sure.
Um, and I just like the sound.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
honestly, Bell and his family, the Adirons, came about because I really like the word Adirondacks.
Oh!
And so I just took letters out and made Adiron.
You know, that's funny because I noticed I'm acting like I noticed anything, but I feel like I did notice that in Airy and Haven because, we've got Airy and like you were saying, and then they're avian, and although I don't think you made that up. But and then, isn't her boyfriend Arian?
Mhm,
I love that. I
mhm.
love that. Can
Too
we
many names, and his full name is Arabelle.
That's
It
right, Arabelle, yes. Yeah, oh, Amina wants
it's
to
bad.
she's so happy to have a name starting with A.
They're good names, I like an A
She
name.
she
I
likes
don't
your name. It's official. In
mm.
fact, maybe your name will wind up in a book.
There we go, there we
You
go.
never know. You never
That's why you
know.
should never piss off an author, as your name might end up in a book.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's the moral here today, I think.
Moral of the story is don't piss off authors because they remember and hold a grudge.
That's great. I like to use Elvish words and combine them to make names. I love your name process. Oh, that's so fun. That's so
Yeah,
fun.
I wish there was a rhyme or reason to it, but it's really not. It's sort of a mishmash of I like it. I honestly don't use names of people who I know.
Okay.
Um, like because in my life, like Bob. Um, I know a couple Bobs. I can't have a Bob, sort
No,
of
there's
thing.
no box.
Um, the other caveat, and other authors will tell you this too, that the problem is you often need to pick the name and stick with it. There is
Mhm.
no, oh, I'll just put in Bob here for this and I'll think of something later. Once you started, they are
Oh,
Bob. So you are stuck with it. So there is sort of a pressure to get it right.
interesting. I love
So, because once they are that,
oh, Bob.
it's very hard to undo. So you need to get it
Yeah,
right.
yes. Interesting. This is fascinating. Never piss off authors. You may end up being eviscerated in fiction.
100%.
Yes. That's great. That's great. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about now say the name of this character.
Dara?
Dara. Okay, I wasn't sure it was like we're okay. That's okay. That's how I would have pronounced it too. I love Dara in Halfling, and then I noticed so Dara is a raccoon,
He is, yes. And the
and
main character of Halfling, let's be real.
I mean he's so precious. And
He's
and when I saw that you have another cute animal, kind of a not a sidekick per se, but I mean coming up in Heart Song, Captain the cat. Do you feel like this is something that you're gonna be doing now for at least for the foreseeable future, having cute little pets
I think
involved?
so. There's definitely one plan for Ironling. He's not
Oh, yay!
actually small. There's
Oh,
gonna be a
really?
wolfhound named Wolf.
Cute!
Love it. Just an old cranky dog.
I love
I think
it.
they're just sort of a fun thing to have. I know that some authors hate doing it, because you always have to account for that animal, which is
Mhm.
yeah. Um, but I sort of knew that when I was in the beginning part, because I always struggle when I'm writing a book. I like to call it the fiddly middly bit. Um, it's usually the after the beginning has ended and before like the middle really starts to happen, it's this sort of sticky bit.
Mm,
I like to think about books as not beginning, middle, end, not a 3-act play, but a 5-act play. So a much more classic Shakespeare play.
oh.
Because I think 3 parts are too simple. So in this sort of format, I find act 2 very difficult. It's when you start to character develop and you start to like have characters don't necessarily know each other that well, and it's usually finding ways for them to do something together that they
Okay.
do start to know each other better. And so I definitely struggled those first couple chapters. Like after, he's freed her from the camp, they are now on their road trip in Halfling. Like, what do they do? What do they do? They're just like there's only 2 of them. What do they do? And
Yeah.
in Airy as well, it was sort of they're all stuck in this castle. Literally, what do they do?
Yeah.
Chop
Yeah.
firewood. Everyone thinks I'm joking, but I'm not. They chop firewood for a whole chapter. And so having that, like again, the fiddly middly bit, I hate it. It's always because it's usually before like I have the big plot things happen. So like once Act 3 starts, the romance is usually really kicked in, the plot's kicked in. I'm kosher, but
Yeah.
before that, it's definitely like, eh. I knew Oric needed something to soften him in the eyes of Sorsha. And I was
Mm,
like, what would be cuter than a baby animal?
yes.
On top of, I wanted it to be a raccoon because it needed to be something that was still kind of wild. Like it's not just a puppy.
Yeah.
It was something that um also to show that like he doesn't kill just to kill. He doesn't mercy kill.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
doesn't find these things a nuisance. And I decided to go with a raccoon because I love them. They are just such mischievous little creatures. And I grew up on stories. So when my dad was growing up, he and his family, their neighbors, had a raccoon.
Oh,
That
really?
Yes, they had a rescue raccoon named Herbie.
Oh.
And I grew up on stories from my dad and my grandma. Vividly remembered Herbie, who was just such a little scamp. My grandma loved to tell the story of they just randomly had a bunch of different fruit and nut trees on their property.
Oh.
Um, and my grandmother has a story of she had a big burlap sack full of oranges to take to, they just go sell them or give them to neighbors because they had more than they needed. And she just came home one day to Herbie, uh, oranges shish kebabbed on both arms. And he was just eating the oranges. He's got like 3 on each arm. And she was
Yes.
so mad because it was just like you couldn't have food around a raccoon. And it's not even their raccoon. So he just got into everything, and he loved playing in the pool, and he loved like if you got too close to the wall, he'd jump on your head, and basically he was like 20 pounds, so he'd almost drown you. So I grew up on these stories of Herbie, and I just like the opportunity presented itself. So I was just like, I'm gonna have my own Herbie, and his name is
I
gonna be Dara.
love it. I love it, and as you see, I popped up some of the stickers. He's just so cute.
So cute. I
I
love them.
love
Yeah,
it.
an artist
And
named Green Ovium did them for me.
oh, yeah?
And she also did the captain stickers, and then there's going to be another set of stickers soon once
And
we
I
get
love
closer to Ironling.
And I love I think
Yes.
these are in the is this would be in KU too, like, they could still see these if they're looking
Yes.
at Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
I just love oh my gosh, these are just so cute.
I was so happy I found those. They're so
Yes.
perfect. I know, it's such a I the stock image that those come from is a bunch of them, and I really had a I pulled my street team on, like, which ones they liked most because I couldn't choose, like, which ones went where, so
Oh, I love it. Well, I have to tell you, I mean, I was already enjoying Oric, but I fell so head over heels for him when I saw how nurturing he was to that
yeah.
baby raccoon, so
Yeah, we
well
really sort of made it impossible for Sorsha
done.
to deny
Yes!
that he would be perfect.
Yes, and talking about, Captain, so is he similar? I mean, is his how is his personality or the I guess the way in which he's used in Heart Song, unless it gives away something. Can you tell
No,
us
I
any
think,
more about
he's sort of the he's the female main character, Anna, he's her cat. And
Okay.
she's someone who life has really stacked the deck against her. She's been someone who is kind of living on the edge her whole
Mhm.
life. Like
Mm.
financial and food security has been a really big problem for her.
Yikes.
And he's first um so he's basically the first living being really that she's cared about other than herself because she hasn't had the capability really to take care of anyone else, to pay it forward or to be, she's had to be selfish her whole life because no one else is taking care of her.
Mm.
And so Captain is really, I still would say, sort of in the same way that Dara helps show the softer side of Oric, Captain shows this softer side of Anna, that like she does have the capacity to love and take care of something else.
Mm.
Especially when given the chance and opportunity, because I think Anna being someone who she struggles with chronic migraines on top of several other things.
Yeah.
Being in chronic pain, you often don't have the capacity to care for anything but yourself. And it's not being selfish, it's just you have nothing left
Mhm.
in you.
Yeah.
So Captain kind of does fulfill that. Like, he's something to take care of, but he's also like emotional support for her. And he's just a fun little furry guy, just populating her apartment. And it's fun to see him with this new statue roommate that they have going on, the new gargoyle roommate. An
Yes.
excellent cat perch.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Um, and talking about Heart Song a little bit more, I so this obviously has chronic pain representation in it. That's so I mean, that's gonna be so huge. I know quite a few people that, are dealing with chronic pain on a daily basis and just how draining it can be. I know they're going to be so grateful to see some of their struggles represented in your work. So I'm just so thankful that you're and is there anything that you wanna, say anything more about that? Well, instead of me just
Yeah,
talking
no, no. It's I think Heart Song was a very interesting project because Anna in many ways is the exact opposite of me. I had a very happy childhood. I'm
Mhm,
very close to my parents.
mhm,
It's the exact opposite for Anna. She's had to take care of herself a lot after having a very selfish, nurturing mother and being on her own. But I really did connect with her on having these migraines. And it is sort of a, when you have chronic pain, you are not your best self.
mm,
Especially like when you wake up in pain, you're like, well, today's not going to be a good day. And you know that the moment you wake up. And
mm,
like, it's something that people who don't have chronic pain don't understand.
yeah,
um and even in medical professions, I suffer with migraines myself. I've been on many different treatments. There have been times where I've had to take myself to urgent care or emergency room because it has just gotten away from my capabilities to treat.
mm,
um there are times when, I've gone in and my pain is like a 10 out of 10 or an 11 out of 10, but
oof,
I'm still sort of able to kind of joke around, be pleasant to be around for the nurses and doctors. And honestly, treatment is not as good as if I am sitting there crying,
Yeah.
because as someone joking around, sort of releasing the tension, that's not what someone in pain should be like, but if
Right.
you're in chronic pain, your pain tolerance is quite high.
Yeah.
So even in the medical professions, like, you get treatment much faster if you are unpleasant to be around and crying, which I've
Mhm.
learned the hard way. But I don't like crying and being unpleasant. I'd
Right.
rather, just like, hello, I'm in incredible pain. Please, shoot me up with something.
Right. Yeah.
And so even your doctors and medical professionals are underestimating the pain, uh, because again, like, you're normal. It's normal for most people
Yeah.
to go out throughout their day to not have pain. But if you are someone who struggles with chronic pain, you're probably always at a 2 to 4.
Mhm.
And you are only going to the hospital when it's like a 9 or a 10. But
Mhm.
you're able to deal with it and cope with it because it's not abnormal for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's really difficult, and it really, really sucks. And I think this um book is very much for everyone who is really just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
I wish we all had a hunky house husband gargoyle who would take care of us.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so I think that was really cool to write a character who was so different from me, but then also had the struggle that I definitely do. Especially
Mm.
when you're sort of an adult on your own, even when you have chronic pain, it's just like, do I have enough in me to even get up and take myself to the hospital?
Right.
You don't have that spouse or friend or parent to help you.
Right.
And that's very much where Anna is. And then also that sort of struggle of, you have someone who does want to help take care of you
Mhm.
when you haven't before. And so our girl goes through some trust issues.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you navigate that
Um,
for the first time? Truly.
so,
Yeah.
letting someone take care of you is its own sort of challenge. Um,
Yeah.
so, which I definitely struggled with myself last fall. I very stupidly fell down the stairs. I
Oh, no!
say that I missed one step. I missed the last step on my stairs. It was so stupid, and
Oh,
I
no.
still managed to break my foot. Um,
Oh.
and then so I ended up needing surgery. So I've got some nice hardware in my foot now.
Ooh.
And so because it was that much, and because it was the foot and it affected mobility, I really did have to have help. And it was very like,
Mm.
like, I hate this. I hate it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes you need help.
Yes.
And I'm grateful, and I was lucky enough to have people who would step up and help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I do think this book was very much written for um people who suffer with chronic pain, and I want them to be seen, and I
Yeah.
like, I do see you. I know how much it sucks. And I hope
Mhm.
everyone who has it is advocating for themselves and seeking treatment, because there are treatments out there.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going on a medical roller coaster, but unfortunately, there are outcomes. You do not have to suffer with it.
Yes. Yes. I love the comment we just got too. I love the representation, sending wishes for low pain days.
Thank you. Yes,
Love
those
that.
are
Love
so productive and like so sunny and bubbly when it's like a pain-free day. It's delightful.
Yeah, you feel like you could fly.
I know, it's like, oh, this is who I actually am. You
Yeah.
It's because who I am in pain and like grumpy and tired, that's not who I actually am.
Yes.
That's me in pain. And I don't
Mhm.
like being that. I don't, you
Yeah.
know, so it's very taxing on the soul.
Yes.
So yes,
Mhm.
I wish I could give everyone a hunky house husband gargoyle, but
Yes. I love it.
barring that, I hope that at least I can give you representation.
There you go. And it'll be great for people who don't experience who haven't experienced this. It'll give them empathy, hopefully. So it's gonna be beautiful. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. So here comes another question from that I got previously from one of my online friends. How did you write flight and feathers, wings, all of that so well in Airy and Haven? Because you really did a gorgeous job.
Thank you. Yeah. So Bell and his sort of physiology, how he looks, came about. I was reading a really interesting article about what humans would need to sustain flight. And we sort of think like, oh, well, there's aerial gliders, you would need large wings.
Right. Yeah.
It's not, you do need the wings, obviously. But it's not necessarily about the size of the wings. So if you think about birds, for example, you think about chickens. What's the main part of the chicken that we eat? The breast. Birds have enormous chest muscles. So this was talking
Mm.
about really wings sort of sustain flight, they don't create flight. And so when you think about airplanes, their wings are big, but they have huge engines and propulsion to get them moving. So to
Yeah.
actually get to beat gravity and the air pressure, you need a certain amount of oomph. So avians came about thinking about what would the human body need to do that, and basically they would need enormous chest and back muscles. Um,
Mhm.
oh no.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I love how I love how
Um,
you write that in spades in the book about his oh, I love it. I love it.
we're thirsty for it. So it wasn't just that I wanted to make him a buff hunk. He
Yeah.
literally does need, and I sort of thought about his people's like martial art that they do focuses on building up like the back and chest muscles needed to sustain that flight, which is why Bell, you know, like 3 years before the main events of the book happens, he decides to take up that martial art again to actually make himself physically capable of flight, just beyond the wings. Like you would physically need the chest and back muscles to support like the flapping motion to get airborne. Because as we've seen, like humans can fly, like there's hang gliders, so you would need enough to carry the weight and not just fall like a stone.
Yeah.
um but to sustain flight you actually need some sort of momentum. um and obviously we wouldn't want him skipping leg day, so they do sort of emphasize the leg muscles being able to jump and like run and jump and get that start. But yeah, so it's sort of like looking at birds and what sort of things birds have, and that's one thing birds do have is that gland that they secrete an oil on their wings, to keep, especially like ducks and geese, it makes them waterproof.
Yeah.
So actual birds do have that. Um, and so that was sort of looking at what do birds have and what would that be kind of fun to like pull into this other species. And then if it is something that in some birds it is sort of created or like spread through the feathers by flight, well,
Yes.
what would that mean for someone who can't fly?
Right. Right. Oh my gosh, I know. The way that oh, I don't wanna give anything away, but the way that they work through that, like this it's not a salve, what would you call that? What did you call
He
that?
uses like a hair oil.
Like a hair oil, okay.
Mhm.
I was thinking
I imagine it like Moroccan oil because I just like Moroccan oil and I use it myself.
yeah, there you go. I can imagine that would with his wings being the size they were, I
Yeah,
was just envisioning, like, how long would that take to get
a
all
while, a while.
oh,
Um, and I think like I always like I just love gold. Like I'm such a basic bitch. I love gold. And so I thought it was important to, and I did kind of like want to make him sort of angelic looking because
Yes.
it does sort of emphasize that like no, he's very aesthetic and attractive, but because
Mhm.
he is this other species that they are at war with, Lena doesn't immediately like, oh hey, she's not like he is. What's that noise? Oh
Sorry,
god,
that was I'm so sorry.
I don't know,
I'm
was that me?
trying to make it stop. I'm so sorry. That is on my computer. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to close this out.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe
Sorry.
it's just feedback. Sorry. No, I'm just it's like just on the slight like a siren or alarm
Oh, no,
spectrum.
I'm
So I was
yeah.
just like, ah. but yeah, so I think his wings sort of came about that I knew I wanted his family to kind of be famous for having golden wings. And then I thought about what would it be like to sort of have gold wings, but not quite. Like Belle's always not quite. You know, he's not quite his brother. He's not quite important to his people. He's not quite loved. He's not quite understood.
Mhm.
He's always not quite enough. Um, like he has the right look, sort of, for his family. Like he has enough that they're like, yeah, we can see that that's the spare. But thank God he's the spare. He's not the heir because he doesn't quite have the look.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. Yeah, say thank you sounds like a text. I'm so sorry! It's like, wow, you just never know
I'm
what's
pretty sure
gonna
my
happen.
mom has texted me a few times through this.
It's my mother. My mother is texting me, and she's texting me all of the pictures she took from, like, this thing with my daughter, and she's texting me all the pictures. I'm like, "Please stop texting me right now." And then I've got another one of my friends who knows what I'm doing right now, and she's like, "Ha, ha, ha." She's messaging me on my phone. "Julie." She's trying to
Just stop that. Stop it.
"Stop it, Julie." Anyway, at least I haven't left again, so that's
That's true.
I know, not now, Mom. That's why I'm like texting her. I was like, please do not anymore. And she hasn't texted me back. So I'm going to hear about
I
this later.
definitely have parents who they know I'm doing something and they'll text me during the something, be like, good luck with the something.
Yes. Julie, I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. Look at and thankfully I don't get the same kind of message alerts when she messages me on WhatsApp. So Julie, little stinker. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we've got high points and low points of this interview, and this is one of them. I'm so sorry.
I'm just happy it's not like, something disconnected or went wrong.
or I just left again. What do you do when the person interviewing you just leaves in the middle of an interview? Well, now you know. I love it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm down to some of the last questions that I wanted to ask. So I'm also making sure that I'm vocally opening it to our people watching from home or on the subway or what have you. If you want to ask her a question, feel free to jump in anytime if we haven't made that clear already. But I'm gonna go through some of these, and then while I'm doing that, if anybody wants to jump in, please feel free with a question. But these might be a little hard, and if you can't answer, I get it. I get it. What would you say of all the characters that you've written so far? Who is your favorite
Alex.
character? Who?
Alex.
Really?
Oh, of course. Of course it's Alex.
I love Alex.
I love Alex.
I love Alex. Yes, she's terrific. She is in Haven and Airy. And she's
Lena
more of like a
Sapphire.
sidekick. You wanna tell us a little bit about Alex and why you're so fond of her?
Who doesn't love a little scrappy street orphan, like non-binary little fighter? Like she's just so precious and so like she loves Lena and serves Lena not because Lena is a knight and she's her squire, but because Lena is her friend. And Lena sticks up for her and defends her in basically because in a way that knights should, because Lena is everything a knight should be.
Yes.
Like she's too devoted to the knight's code, and that's her flaw. And Alex recognizes it like, oh, she's actually my person and she's the real deal. And I'm going to support her through that because I know that the world's not like that. And Alex recognizes that she sort of doesn't want Lena to become jaded, which is just such a fun dynamic because Alex is like 15 when they meet and Lena's about 26. So like it's very much like a sisterly relationship. And sometimes Lena is the big sister, but sometimes Alex is because she's a lot more streetwise. Yeah,
Yes.
I love that little stinker. She's so great.
Yes, and I love the ways that she comes into her own in Haven. You know, we get to see kind of her world and how she helps them through
Mhm.
her connections, and I just loved that element. That's just so cool. I didn't know you would say Alex, and I just love that you did. I love that you did. Oh, and we've got people also wanting to tell their own. I'm in love with Belle. The golden wings are irresistible. Oh my
He's
gosh.
such a babe, and he's my little broody boy, and I love him so much.
Yes.
I just wanna be wrapped up in his wings. It's just
Yes!
he's such
We
a babe.
were saying that. Oh my gosh. We were talking about it might have been I would think it was you, Amina. We were talking about going to sleep and envisioning, like, his wing just wrapped over and how relaxing that is as a thought, well, right before you fall asleep.
Yes. I know, I really enjoy a hero with wings and just the, like, built-in blanket.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, I loved all of those scenes. Yes. Oh, so gorgeous. And some of the art, there was a piece that just I'm not gonna show it because it might be a little scandalous, but, it's one of the most recent pieces that were released. You can see it on her website and on her Instagram, of Lena and Belle. I love it so much. I love it so much. But yes, it's so good. And that was published quite recently, right? One of your most recent Lena and Belle's.
Yes, I had paid for and signed up for the art last year.
Oh,
Unfortunately, the artist could not get to the commission until fairly recently.
I see.
But yes, I've been anxiously awaiting that piece, and it was everything I wanted.
Oh,
So
so
worth the
yeah,
wait because just
absolutely.
it was based
Absolutely.
on my favorite chapter in Haven, and just who I love getting to see them. I love commissioning art of Lena and Belle, but again, it's one of those things that art is expensive, so I sort of have to, focus on the characters coming out in the next book for marketing. But like, if I had infinite money, it would just be Lena and Belle all over the place because they're just such
Yes.
fun characters.
Yes. Oh my gosh, gorgeous, gorgeous. And for me personally, in terms of my favorite character, I would have to say, oh, it's tough. If I were gonna say hero, it would probably be Auric. I just adore him. Oh my
He's,
gosh.
he's pretty great.
Yeah, yeah. And then for heroine, I would probably say Lena. I just love her heart and her bravery. And she was always sacrificing herself to the point where sometimes I was like, please stop sacrificing yourself. She's always just like, "Well, I'm gonna go sacrifice myself real quick. I'll be right back." I just
Yeah.
she
And she was definitely an interesting character because, like, I think some people have a hard time with her because we are sort of like our idea of like the strong female lead. Like, she's not very witty, she's not very sarcastic, she's not this sort of like funny, fun person. She's kind of a stick in the mud. She knows it. Which I love about her. I love that she's
Yeah,
like, this is who I am, and I don't,
yeah.
you know.
I really liked that about her, though. I feel like I've read now again, I haven't read a lot of fantasy, but a lot of the heroines that I've read in fantasy, they strike me as kind of immature, sometimes sort of petty. Just the ways they interact with some of the other characters, it just sort of turns me off. And I just never felt that way about any of your heroines, you
I do
know?
definitely fantasy is unfortunately pretty full of pick me girls and
Mhm.
not like other girls.
Mm,
And I do think there is a pitfall of, and I love seeing all of these strong female characters, but they can be somewhat hard to write
mhm,
because,
mhm.
like, for example, if you think of the original Mulan Disney movie,
Yeah.
she was very strong, very relatable. If you think about her live action movie, they made her strong by giving her powers. And she
Okay.
doesn't really have a lot of a personality in the movie, I would say.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so it's just, I think it's sort of a generational in media, like it is sort of a, like if a woman's all powerful, she also sort of has to be similar to in the Lord of the Rings series, like prequel series, like the actress and character of Galadriel got a lot of criticism for that too. That like these very
Mhm.
powerful female characters kind of have to be a certain way for people to like them, which I
Mhm.
think is very, very silly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also you don't have to be. And I do think in books there is a sort of there is a pitfall of, there's these I'm not like other girls. Like what's wrong with being other girls? Girls are great. We're
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
better. Like I love girls and women. We're so much better.
Yeah.
We're so much better at everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. I just
there's
feel like
definitely that pitfall.
yeah, I feel like sometimes they're trying to convey strength as being rude or just
Yes. Yeah.
calculating and
Like sarcasm and snarkiness are not
yeah.
strength. Like
Yeah.
being a bitch is not being strong. It's actually a deflection tactic, which some
Mm,
authors do a good job of showing. Like this is her being, trying to keep people away because she
yeah.
feels too vulnerable, and
Sure.
that's fine. Unfortunately, I do think it is sort of a cop out. Like a lot of authors, when they want to write a strong woman, they do
Mhm.
fall into this trap of let's just make her have a foul mouth and not care what anyone thinks sort of thing. And it's just
Yeah.
I don't think that's what makes a woman strong
Right.
necessarily. I think what makes her strong is keeping true to herself through all the adversity. So
Yes. Yes. Yes, well said, beautifully stated, yes. Um, I understand, Lena, it's hard to have famous parents as she did. She's always judged by others, and a lot is expected from her. It must be very hard to live, truly, in that shadow.
yeah,
Alex does not have all the social pressure, so she seems more free to be whatever she wants to be,
yeah,
and inspires Lena, I think, to
yeah,
do as
absolutely.
well.
And yeah, Lena very much came about thinking about especially famous athletes. Like what is it to have a famous athlete parent?
Mm,
I especially thought about Nastia Lukin, the gymnast. Like, did she have a choice? Like, her parents are both very famous Russian gymnasts.
right.
Um, and when Michael Phelps had his son, A, I'm sure it was a water birth, and B, um, is that kid going to have a choice? I don't know why balloons just went across my.
That is not me, I swear.
Okay,
That has
fun.
nothing to do with me.
Weird. Was it because I said birth? Like, happy birthday. Weird. Okay, that's fun.
I promise that one was not me.
That's fine. Who knows with technology?
I know.
But yeah, so Lena is very much I thought about like, and then will this kid, like Michael Phelps's kid, like will they have any choice but to become a swimmer? And like the if you follow football, the Manning family, so Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, they both have a nephew who's going to college soon, and he's slated to be probably one of the best quarterbacks in college soon. So
Mm,
did that kid have a choice? So it was
right.
I very much thought about like pro athletes and famous people and like what choices do their kids really have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Love that. Love that. And you'll be watching the Olympics this summer, correct?
of course,
And
I love
and
the
looking for
Olympics. I
names,
love I love the hoopla.
writing down potential names for future characters, right?
100%.
I love it. I love it. So, okay, this might be hard. What are your favorite scenes or your favorite scene from any book? Pick a book, multiple books. What do you love?
I love writing a spicy scene, but I also just love writing a very like a vulnerable scene, like the character is kind of being lovey-dovey or romantic and vulnerable. Like that's really fun.
Mm.
There's a scene in Heart Song that's probably one of my favorite I've ever written, um, in which Anna is quite literally at the end of her rope and she finally lets Frey take care of her. And that was just really cathartic and beautiful to write. Um,
Mm.
I really enjoyed writing chapter 10 in Haven, which is the scene at the inn. It's spicy, but it's also like Lena and Belle coming together again after having been separated for a while. And
Yes.
them sort of like actually, like they are a couple, but like figuring out, sort of setting their terms for what they are. And so I really enjoy writing that sort of like like I enjoy writing the spice, like that's always fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoy writing a like let's talk sort of
Yeah,
scene.
yeah. Oh, awesome, awesome. And then what would you say is your favorite book that you've written so far?
That's so hard.
I know, if you
Um
can't answer, I understand.
Probably Haven,
Okay.
because it took a lot of effort, it took a lot out of me. It was not easy to write, but
Mhm.
I'm very proud of it,
Yeah.
and I like what happened. I like, because they stick in the same for Aerie, they're pretty stuck in the same place. In Haven, they travel a lot of places, and it
Yeah.
was really fun seeing all those places. Um, but yeah, by a hair though. I mean, I really love Halfling. That was so fun to write. I've really enjoyed Heart Song. I also really enjoyed Stonehearts because it was just such a vanity project. So
So different too. I mean, the
yeah,
fantastical elements being under essentially under the ground. I loved feeling a part of that. I thought you did that so beautifully. And how did you I mean, how do you even come up with that? Like, he's underground essentially looking at her through a well, and
uh,
I just like, "Oh my
it's
gosh."
very much based on like medieval fairy, like literally fairy tales. So you hear the term like fairy hill, um, I'm gonna butcher this Gaelic word, but Sida, which is like the hills, and they're like um in early medieval sort of folklore, the fairies literally did live in hills. And so hills and wells were sort of considered gateways to the fairy world. And so they were sort of thought of with sort of both awe and a bit of trepidation. Like you need to be careful because the fae are over there. And the fae are traditional sort of, magical being, godlike people, both in Ireland, and they obviously came from some sort of Celtic background. They sort of very much are associated with the Irish, but there's also some in Scotland. Um, and so a lot of that came from thinking about fairy hills, and you do even see that in like the medieval sort of Arthurian myths.
Mm.
And Stonehearts is actually a retelling of the Scottish fairy tale Janet and Tamlin, where she's like this Scottish lord's daughter, and she goes to a well and she picks a rose, and a like a ghostly knight comes out of the well and says, "Hey, those are my roses. Stop picking them." And she's like, "My dad owns this land, so like it's actually mine." Um, very, very classic behavior. Classic Janet. And
Oh, Janet.
they get together and they talk and they fall in love. Um, and he tells her that he once was a knight, but then he was captured by the fairy queen, and now he's forced to be one of her knights. And so that's where kind of like getting like meeting each other through a well comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and also like water is always a very classic a metaphor for rebirth, but then also like gateways through
Mm,
water. And so like in the story, like she decides, like Tamlin tells her, like, you can free me if on Halloween, so Samhain, the fairy court, they ride out of the hill, and you have to like, I'll be I'll be in the third row on the third horse, and I won't have a glove on my left hand. That's how
mm,
you know it's me. And so she
mhm.
waits for that night, and she has to pull him off his horse. And the fairy queen says, Tamlin is away. And she starts changing him into animals, and like finally like a bear, a snake, a lion.
Yes.
And then finally and then once she turns into a hot coal, she has to throw him in the well, and then he becomes a man again. Um, and so again, Stonehearts is very much a retelling of that. Which I had a lot of fun with. I had a lot of fun doing a fairy tale retelling, but a fairy tale like almost no one's heard of.
Right.
So
I love
that
that,
was
and I
really
love
fun.
what Amina just said. I think this is why your books are already classics. There's so much behind them. I drink in all your words. You're passing on the heritage of all those storytellers. Thank you so much.
That is so
I
sweet.
love it.
You.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Awesome. That is just that's oh my gosh, I was gonna say something else and I can't remember. So I have a question that this is actually more about Airy and Haven, and I didn't put it in my little notes, but this is my question. Arian,
Mhm.
is he a prince? He's a prince, right? And he is deeply in love with Lena. The
Mhm.
feeling is not mutual.
He's in love with the idea of her. Yeah.
Okay, see, that's what because I just wanted to talk a little bit more about his character because I feel like it could be very easy to say Arian's the villain. He's the bad guy. But I feel like we come to a place of empathy with him where I liked him, but I was glad that she didn't wind up with him. And I get why he would he well, tell me what you think. I'd rather than me put words in your mouth or something, but yeah, what do you think of when you think of him? I'm just I need to know.
I very much thought of him as someone who, like, he is a good man. Like, he will be a good king.
Mhm,
Um, he is someone who I think loves his parents dearly, even though his parents have not really been good monarchs.
mhm.
And he's doing his best to sort of like patch where he can. He's sort of
Yeah,
like the peacemaker.
yeah.
Um, and I think he also being a prince and being handsome and the heir to the throne, and like he literally is hot shit. Like anyone would love to marry him. I
Mhm.
think he's attracted to Lena because she sees past all that. They're also both only children. They sort of and with these pressures of who their parents are.
Mhm.
Um, and like that is one of the reasons why he's a-okay with going and fighting the wars himself. He likes being away from the
Yeah.
court. Um, and I think he sort of knows that he will be better and more popular than his father, but what a disloyalty that is to his father almost. That like
Mm.
I'm not king, my father is, and y'all need to stop.
Mhm. Mhm.
Pretend, you need to just so it's a loyalty thing. I think it was interesting to think about a prince who wouldn't be conniving to like overthrow their father.
Yeah.
Uh, and even though he is a bad king, like what is it to still be loved by your child? And it's that the child does not want harm to become befall. Because like to me, it's just especially after Game of Thrones, like the conniving, let's just kill off the parents because we're too and that didn't feel, especially as someone who is an only child and very close with my parents, that's not as interesting to me. What is it to love your parent, but your parent is this ineffective ruler and a despot?
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
so that's really where Arian came from, and I do have hopes and plans that he will get his own book down the line.
Yay! That is so
um
funny that you say that because she just asked this question, "Do you plan to write his own
yes,
book?"
I do. Yes, and you've
'Cause I tell
already
you
met you've already met his love interest.
Oh, we have? Oh, I'm so excited.
It's
Oh my
not Alex though, because Alex is super gay.
she's yeah, she's with somebody
He
else.
is not her type.
No, no. I love that, and I love that you gave her somebody at the very end. I was like, "Oh, I love that she's got someone. It's so cute. It's so cute." But, yeah, oh, yes, we're excited, we're excited. Um, with Arian too, I found it to be interesting how it seemed like he was making choices for Lena against her will to protect her, but, for her, again, she's, always self-sacrificing, always thinking of the greater good, whereas he didn't seem to have that part of himself. He was more interested in just protecting her and the love that he felt for her as an individual. So I
I
just found
think I
it
framed it too that he is sort of in doing that in his mind, it is doing it for the greater good. Like he would have rather had her stay, with him.
Mhm.
Because he knows A, sending her away, they won't be together, and B, they can't really be together back in the reality that they live in their kingdom.
Yeah.
They're only really able to be together in this very sort of contained place of the war camp where pretty much anything goes because they're all depressed. And it's
Mhm. Mhm.
terrible and no one cares.
Yeah.
Um, versus, back at court where everyone cares.
Yeah.
So I think for him, he does think it's doing the greater good, but because he is a prince and he does have this sort of power over people, he can very easily confuse what's best for them versus what's best for him. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting.
and he
Interesting.
doesn't send her away because it's for her own good. He sends her away because he's worried about her. He can't deal with the fear of losing her
That's
because it
important.
is a pretty high mortality rate
Yeah.
in this war. And
Yeah.
that, as Lena says, that's on him. That's not her job is to protect him. So
Yeah.
um, he's treating her like a damsel, like someone who needs this when she's a very highly skilled warrior herself. And it's her job to protect him. So,
Yeah.
like, he needs to get over himself. So,
Well said. I love that. I love that. So, believe it or not, we have already been going for 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I know I promised I'm keeping it to under 3 or to 3. So we have a little bit of time left. And in that time, I just really want to highlight what is to come.
yeah,
So whatever you want to tell us, obviously this Friday in what is it, 5 days?
5 days till
5
Art Song.
days!
I'm so excited.
Yes! Oh my gosh, yes. We are all so excited. We can't wait. In August, of course, with Ironling. But yeah, basically anything you wanna talk about in terms of these works that are coming up or anything else that you're excited about that's coming up, I just wanna give you the floor and make sure you get everything out you wanna share.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've got big plans for the Monstrous World series, which is Halfling and Ironling. I've
Yes.
got probably like 5 loose plot ideas, and sort of an overarching sort of things that are happening in the background that will eventually, be relevant. So I'm really excited to keep exploring that world. I sort of, if Ironling goes to schedule in August, there's sort of a hope that I would be able to do something shorter, like a novella or short novel in like November in the same world. Sort of depends on how fast and how tired I am. um, but and then obviously I have plans for Heart Song as sort of the first real story in the War of the Underhill series, and I've got big plans for that. So I'm hoping to keep doing like 2 to 3 titles a year. Um, I'm hoping that by the end of the year I might be able to go full time. That would
Oh,
be pretty awesome.
oh,
So if
that
I
would
am, like, I'll be able to I will be able to guarantee like 2 to 3 a year.
yeah.
I'm really hoping to get the paperbacks in stores. Like, I really want to, get them in Barnes and Noble, get them in indie bookstores.
Mhm.
And at least with the Monstrous World series, Podium has picked up that series. So there will be an Ironling book and there shall be an Ironling audiobook. So
Yeah,
that's exciting. Yeah.
so
So
exciting.
both those series are going. I do want to work in, like, I do really want to write an Aryan novel at some point. I really want to write probably more a novella size, for Alex, as well as for D'Artagnan in Syria. Or
Oh.
Syria. Um, I haven't quite figured out which comes first, what happens in each. So that's still kind of percolating in the back of my head. Um, but yeah, so those are hopes and dreams. And again, when I like have more time, like I'll be able to devote to all those, irons in the fire.
Yes. Oh! Oh my gosh, so much to look forward to. So much to look forward to.
And of course
So
more art because I love not having money.
I just adore the art. I adore the art so, so much. So Heart Song is going to be oh, this is somebody else. I am so sorry. I quit this thing. I know. So That was someone else. Ugh! It's on my computer, and it's not even up anymore. I quit out of it. I said, "Go away, get out," and it's still popping up, and I'm so sorry. It's not my phone or anything.
Totally fine.
You're very kind. You've been through it in this interview, and you're still
I
standing
do really
strong.
have to pee.
Oh, bless your heart. You're like, "And I'm drinking this big giant drink, and this is why." Oh my gosh. Well, would you like us to wrap up then? We can. I mean, we're
That might be
basically
best. I do really have to.
Poor thing. Okay, so you have made my dreams come true. You are amazing. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you came and sat down with me today. And now all I'm going to do still is going to want to reread everything leading up to Friday when Heart Song comes out. I'm so excited. So excited. And I'm just so grateful you were here. And
Thank
yes,
you so much for having me. This is so fun, and what a fun thing! Like, what a fun thing to do.
so fun. So, I mean, I've had the best time, and I know everybody's going to be watching this back, and we're going to have so much to say in the future. And I'm just thank you for all you've done, the stuff that you put out into the world, the countless hours that you've given people that just the inspiration that you are. So I just want to thank you again. So, and also let you
Well, you're
go.
so sweet. I seriously do, like, I do write for myself, like, it does help keep me sane, but
Yes.
I really do it for the readers too. And this has just been such a, you know, such an amazing journey. And like, yeah, it's taken a couple years to get some traction, but like I've met some amazing people, and this has just been such a wonderful journey.
Truly. Oh, and we're so grateful you're writing. We can't wait for the next stuff. So, well, thank you so much. We're gonna say goodbye, and we will get to read Heart Song in 5 days.
I
So,
know, I'm so excited. Hope y'all like it.
yes. Oh, we sure will. All right. Well, we are gonna go, and thank you again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
B.
you. Thank you. Okay.